feel like when you walk in my garage now, there should be like EDM music playing, just and then like lights going because it's all like headphones on and just working on a computer and shit. It's weird.
Yeah, my garage is a fucking shit show. I think my neighbors probably look at it like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Have the cops came by to ask you about the bike shit?
I have a state trooper who lives right next door.
Okay, so
and he
good.
comes over to the garage all the time.
Yeah.
He's super
That
cool.
used to be a thing. You remember that? Like, if you had too many bikes in your garage or around, you'd get the little visit by the cops just to want to check the bins here
I
and
don't
there.
think I've ever had that.
It used to happen out here all the
Yeah.
time. Not here, but like in general. Like I knew a lot of shops that used to get, just kind of rolled on like that. Sport bike days. So
Yeah.
Sport bikes get stolen a lot more than Harleys. So, that was kind of like a thing that you had to be prepared for.
That's funny. Where I'm at, Harleys get stolen more.
Yeah.
You see it all the time on Facebook Market. Look out for such and such bike. I'm like, you ain't getting that back.
Yeah, for real.
You think a Facebook ad's gonna get your shit back?
Yeah, it's not happening, man.
Yeah.
What's crazy is like, is when I was growing up, custom paint and everything, most of my clients in my early days were drug dealers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you never really knew if the bike was legit or not. And I was always worried, like, man, am I out of line to ask this guy? Like, hey, man, is this bike legit? Because I feel like that's kind of like one of those things that it's like.
If it's in your shop, I would ask.
Yeah. I was 22 years old, It's
Yeah.
like, dude's 35 coming to me because I'm cheap. He's not coming to me because of any other reason, But yeah, I was always worried about that. So.
Yeah, when Melissa helped me find that house, and when we went to go look at that house, I pulled up my work truck and she was sitting there waiting on me. And she gets out of the truck and she looks at me because there's a state trooper's truck right next door. She kind of like whispers, "Are you okay with that?" I was like, "With what?"
Yeah.
Look at your neighbor. I was like, "I like that."
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing to hide. I like that he's there. So yeah, he comes over to the garage all the time and hangs out, and he's always like, "What do you got coming in here now?" Because I back the van up and I'm like either loading bikes or unloading bikes all the time. And it's a synchronized thing. We just make it work out of a damn garage.
How did you get into like the whole wheeling and dealing? I don't even know what the proper term is.
Man, I feel like in some people it's just in them, I guess. And I've been wheeling and dealing a long time.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, I wheel and dealed BMX bicycles. Mm-hmm. I grew up riding bicycles. I still ride bicycles today, and and then like a lot of my friends, a lot of our scene they listened to that freaking podcast that I did with LFG, and when I was in my early 20s, man, and I was partying and out being crazy, man, I was wheeling and dealing, and I was wheeling and dealing stolen shit.
Yeah.
And I was in that world for a little while. And then when I got in trouble, I had to find a way to like be able to feed that.
Yeah.
There's a certain kind of, the guys I work with in my day job, they're all hunters and fishermen, Mm-hmm. And to me, that's my hunting and fishing. It's the finding the bike is my hunt. And then trying to get it for a price where I can make money that's part of my hunt.
Yeah.
And then you get something whenever you sell it, and you make a little money and you move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And man, I never wanted to be a parts guy. And the parts shit just kind of started happening. You buy somebody's bike and all of a sudden they're like, well, over here in the garage, I got all these parts I've collected over the years. And, then it turns into, well, for how much? And I'll take all of it.
Yeah.
So it just kind of evolved into that. Like, it was never, I've been buying and selling shit for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've also become like somehow or another a parts guy,
Yeah, you definitely.
And I never wanted to be that, but.
Man, I think it's like being in the right place at the right time. For me, it's always been that. Like you'd post a deal, I'm like, fuck, I wouldn't mind getting that.
Yeah.
Even like some of the FXRs you have up for sale right now, for me to get them and throw a little bit of my sauce on it, I could always sell them for a little bit more,
Absolutely.
But, man, it's a hustle, man. Like we were talking about that when you got here, just the hustle of, where you have to land on what it is to sell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And knowing to stay above that mark, you know what I mean? Otherwise, it's kind of a wash or a waste of your time, if you will.
Yeah, you can't make a lateral move.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta buy stuff to be able to make a profit.
Yeah.
You know, when me and Rennie were trying to split that shop, I really had a little more of a vision of like us kind of feeding off each other, and we were for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, until shit went south with my relationship and I had to move. But I had a different vision for what I was trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I've heard y'all talk about it before on the show. You know, like sometimes what you're trying to do, the universe doesn't give that to you.
Yeah.
It's going to give you what is meant to be.
Yeah.
And it's just evolved into what it is now. Dude, I've got a storage room I could fit 3 of those vans of mine inside of it, and it's full of parts.
Yeah.
Overwhelming amount of parts, and it just happened. You know, like you said, being in the right place at the right time, and having the money. Like, I've gotten to a point now where I've built the capital where when, you know, especially like around the holidays, I go through it every year around the holidays. Mm-hmm. I go into this space where people are selling because they need money. So I'm buying, but then nobody's buying bikes because everybody's hanging on to their money. Yeah. This last year for Christmas, it was, man, I had a garage full of bikes and wasn't nobody buying shit. Mm-hmm. You know, so you got to have the capital to be able to be okay to sit on that.
Well, you've sold and bought enough stuff that you're kind of like playing with house money now, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely. It's not like you're having to, you know, I'm going to go take this out of my actual paycheck for my job and go buy this. But I'm sure you would if you needed to here and there.
I have a certain amount of working money that I have to keep, you know.
Yeah.
And you have to. Brooks Blanton showed me a really helpful thing that has helped my little gig quite a bit, you know. So I have a certain amount of working money, and then I've got a little bit of bank money that I play with too. But it's you know, you got to be real careful with that because it's not for somebody that's not good with money. Yeah. You got to be able to go take the money, go get your bike, sell it, and put that money back in the bank and keep your profit for you. You know. Yeah. So that can be a dangerous thing, but I'm smart with my money, and so I just do it the right way. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you've also gotten to this point where people kind of know you to be either A, you know where things are, or B, you know, hey, be on the lookout for this. I'm looking for so and so and so, and then bam, there you go. And like, so that guys like myself, hey, I want to build an FXR. Do you know of a frame? And then, hey, there's this one. Yeah. You know, it's like you just get that reputation of being the guy that knows where things are at or has those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I've gained that reputation for sure. And I've got, you know, I grew up in the motorcycle community, and I've got friends all over San Antonio. I got friends all over Austin. I've got a mess of friends in Waco. I got a bunch of friends in Dallas. Yeah. You know, so and now my page has kind of become this like, hey, I'm looking for this, so I try to post it and find it. And some of those, you know, I don't make money on some of those, but it doesn't matter. It's still about making connections sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes it's not just about making $1. You got to, you know, it's also fun for me. And that's also why I get asked all the time, like, when are you going to make that plunge and do it full time? And man, I think that would take the fun out of it. You know, it's the way that I do it is fun. You know, I'm not held to anybody's timelines or.
Yeah, I mean, if things are going well the way they are, and you have the time off to be able to go do the things you want to do, then don't fuck that up.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, I feel like so many people are looking for that thing to quit their day job to go do, and it's just like, man, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a good solid job and having the time where you get to clock out and you're done with that motherfucker. Yeah. And then you get to go do all these things that you have ideas for. Like, there's something kind of, as a guy that's been self-employed almost my entire adult life, I envy that.
Oh, you think, like, I listen to your show all the time. I listen to Danger Dan's podcast all the time. And I listen to all these other people that are self-employed. And you know, everybody thinks the grass is always greener on the other side, and that's not always the case. I'm grateful to have my job. There was a point where I was very, very close to, I was stagnant in my line of work. Mm-hmm. I'm 46 years old, and I felt like I was I've worked hard enough that I've reached an area where I was ready to not work so fucking hard. And that opportunity finally came to me in August, and I was able to move to a position where I'm not working so hard. So now, like, after work, I'm not physically tired like you used to be.
Yeah.
You know, you go to these big job sites and you weld freaking 24-inch pipe all day long. I mean, it's heavy, shitty work.
Yeah.
And you get off work, you don't want to do a damn thing. You know, so now with my new position, it's opened up where, and they don't really care about my schedule. They care about that I work my 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know, this morning, for example, I was able to make it because I knew I was coming up here where I could start at 5 a.m. and I was done at 1:30.
Yeah.
Typically, I start at 6 and I'm done at 2:30. So then from 2:30 on, I can go and do my hustle.
Yeah.
And make it work that way, you know. So now that I'm in a better position, I'm gonna keep my day job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to make a move and make this full time.
Yeah, I could see if like you're in your early 20s where you're just kind of establishing yourself in the workforce, you have no rapport with your job to be able to have weeks of vacation yet, or, you know, whatever the case. It's like, I understand you wanting to chase a dream then, because what's the alternative, right?
Yeah,
you're just,
sure.
You're kind of a slave to the system at that time. But even if you go out on your own, you're going to be a slave to this system. You're not going to have free time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think that's the hard part about, for some of us that have been employed for the better part of the last 10 to 15 to 20 years, is that social media has only like recently come along to be able to expose that, as opposed to like the days of hustling and, you know, all the shit we used to have to do back in the day in the 2000s. It's just like, yeah, there was social media, but we weren't using social media for like what we do now, you know?
Oh yeah. Advertising, the way we advertise now is way different.
Yeah. And you know, what's wild is that like, if the algorithm on Instagram wasn't so fucked right now, it's like, I think more of us would be able to sell stuff. It's like they're not allowing most people to see pretty much anything that we post. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just not reaching a lot of people. And they're like, hey, we'll pay for boosting this post. And it's like, man, like I cringe when I see sponsored ads from a brand. You know what I mean? It's like, this is supposed to just be like, you know, a place where you post pictures and it's supposed to just reach people, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not very good at social media either, and grateful. I got a new lady in my life, and she's a lot more smart about it than I am. She's a lot more savvy with it. She's way better at making reels and shit, and she's really been helping me with my side hustle. You know, that girl's helped me sell some bikes in the last few months. Yeah, when we first started dating, she worked at Harley, and you know, it was like a kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. She hated it there.
Yeah,
it was at a real poorly ran dealership, and she just didn't like it. But whenever there would be deals come through there that they weren't going to buy, she would send them to me. Hey, call this guy, you know. And then when it comes to the selling side of it, you know, I'm not on TikTok. I don't need another fucking platform to waste my time. I'm on Instagram, and my Facebook is tied to it.
Yeah.
But I only get on there for Facebook Market. Same. And that's it. So she has been doing a real good job of like posting, like I got 2 FXRs for sale right now, and I'm not on the Facebook FXR pages. Yeah. And she is. So she's been posting that shit there and helping it, you know, grow some legs there. And that's been a real big help, because I'm not the best at social media. Yeah. You know, and I need to get better at it, because it is how we advertise these days.
Yeah, it's a weird place right now with it, but I've been talking about social media so much lately. I'm kind of burnt out on the whole subject, but it's just so relative to so many aspects of what's going on. But yeah, I think that it's like Facebook takes over everything that comes into play. It took over the forums and the chats that used to exist in other places. It took over, you know, what Craigslist was. And don't get me wrong, like, it's been a welcome change for the marketing stuff, but even now it's like, even Facebook Marketplace is starting to it's starting to show you a lot of shit that you didn't ask to see. Like, I don't want to see stuff that was sold in my area. Like, I don't want to see things that are not for fucking sale, dude. That's the dumbest thing in the world.
It is dumb.
Or, you know, like, Marketplace should be a place to go for things that are like people are selling. So when they have like these businesses in there that are selling things that are in the things of what you're looking at, as opposed to just the marketplace of it, I don't want to see that either. You know, it'd be different if they had another thing. Like I want to see what brands are out there selling what products. In that place versus
we should have a little more control over what we see and what we don't, and it's not like that anymore. You're overwhelmed with fucking weird advertisements and shit.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about it, like what I think the core thing about marketplace that made it such a better place to wheel and deal was there was like you can see if the person was a real person, right? It wasn't a scam. I mean, there's still scammers on there, obviously. But
dude, it's full of them.
Yeah,
man.
but I mean, realistically, it's like, okay, well, you know, if I'm selling some camera gear and I click on the person's page and they're clearly into cameras, then I know that it's that. But if it's like some lady in Connecticut that has 2 posts that is buying it for her son that goes to college in Berkeley or some shit, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, if your son's in Berkeley, like, first off, you're not going to buy some used camera gear.
I had this conversation yesterday, and I don't understand I don't understand how they're doing it. We all think it's some kind of scammers, but like, I list all my shit on my Instagram page, and I also list on Facebook Marketplace. And you're just overwhelmed with everybody doing the easy button of, is this available? Mm-hmm. Is this available? Is this available? And a lot of those, if you look on their pages, they're like in Indonesia and shit. Yeah. And like, so now I've gotten where I put on my posts, like, I will not respond to, is this available? Mm. I started doing that because I saw some other people doing that. Well, now I've realized it's just a lazy thing for people to just hit that, I guess, because I've sold some things recently to somebody that did that. Hit me up with, is this available? And I'm like, man, what the fuck? Like, I don't even want to look at it. Well, then I'll go look at their page, and they got motorcycles. They're from my area. And I'll just it makes it to where you got to be an investigator. Yeah. You know, and that's another way that I get a lot of the shit that I sell is people don't want to fuck with selling shit. Yeah. Because it's a pain in the ass. It's a fucking nightmare. And you got to deal with all the dumb questions. Yeah. You got to, and everybody knows, like, I always price my shit below market. Yeah. Every once in a while, you'll see me with something priced high. And it's usually, if it's something priced high, it's not mine. Yeah. I've also become, right now I have 2 bikes in my garage that are there on consignment. Mm. And when it comes to consignment, I'm kind of up against what that person needs to get for their bike or their parts. Mm. And that's a hard place to be because I do have a little bit of a following of being under market. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the other day I got a bike that's already under market for $7,500, a very low mile police Road King. It's got 4,800 miles on it. Yeah. It's a 2005. It never saw a day of police work. It only did parade work. I bought it from the second owner. Super clean bike. $7,500. Like, there's not one on the market at that price. Yeah. And I could show you, I don't know how many posts. 3,500. Like, they don't even say nothing. They just send that, and I'm like, fuck right off. But I've learned you got to play the game with those people. Because sometimes those people will turn out to be somebody that actually comes through and buys. The same thing with, is that available? If you research it and they're in your area and you can tell they're into motorcycles and it's not a bullshit page, I've just learned to play the game. Yeah. Like, yeah, it is available, and I usually don't respond to this. You know, and then once they start coming back with some serious questions, I've had plenty of those turn into somebody that does buy and somebody that does come forward with a decent money. Yeah. I sold a bike a month ago, and it was the same thing. Like, they started out low-balled the hell out of me. And I just had to, you know, just respond with something. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, through conversation, then they start seeing that they hear what the bike has and what it doesn't have. Mm-hmm. Then the price will come up on their end. So I've learned that I can't always just ignore those. Yeah, just like having a real conversation. That's why I wish, you know, I have the CVO up for sale right now, and I've had 3 offers. One,
one, it was a fucking super low number, but now it's like the highest of the low numbers, right?
Well, that's what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah.
Respond to those people, even
I
if
was
they
kind of a
do.
dick. I was a dick though. So.
And if you're a dick, though, it's funny because
I hit him with the LOL, and that was it.
well, I used to do the same thing. You know where I learned to not do that was from Josh, Motorcycle Dork. Him and his wife were doing like some eBay. I do a little bit of eBay selling, and I watched some of their videos, and through their video that I saw on YouTube, I watched somebody else's video in the eBay space. And the lady said, every single offer can turn into a sale. And I don't know why. I just that resonated with me, and I listened and I took it. And so when they give you a low offer, because I've already experienced it, I listened to what that lady said in her little coaching thing about eBay selling, and I just used that on other platforms. And I've had those low offers turn into somebody that comes, they're going to try.
Yeah.
They're going to try. It's part of the hustle,
Yeah. I understand, I've always felt like, whenever I hit somebody up, like wanting to buy something, and I don't know, I guess that's why I'm not good at the whole more or less wheeling and dealing, because I will hit them up at a cheaper price, but it's still like a reasonable offer.
Sure.
Like if someone's selling something for $700, I don't hit them with $400.
No,
I usually go, hey man, would you be willing to do 650, 600,
right.
something like that.
Right.
And, and it's usually because I'll like, hey, well, there's another one on the market for 650, but it's like a little bit further of a drive, but
yeah.
And obviously he could say, well, go drive and get that, or if you want to save time, there's all those negotiation things.
Absolutely.
Right? But, I was, selling, I sold a lot of camera gear to buy the welder and stuff. And some of the stuff was like super, like that. Remember the tablet, the Wacom tablet I had in? That was a $3,000 tablet. It's nice, and it's still like the current model that's out there. But trying to sell it used, it's like, it's a professional tool for, people that create digital art or photography, editing and stuff right there. So it's like, it's just
it's electronics too.
Electronics are hard to sell because they get dated quick.
Right. And look at the automotive world. If you go buy an electronic for, an electrical piece for a car, computer or some shit from AutoZone, like a lot of them, they will not have returns on that shit.
Yeah.
I have an automotive background. When I was in my early 20s, I worked in dealerships, and that was electrical shit. Like you did not return that shit.
Or just in general, like if you have to go buy something electrical, like a BCM or something like that, and then turns out it wasn't that, so it's like your BCM's good, and you try to resell that shit, man, it's like, goddamn, that was a $600 thing, and now it's like they're going on eBay for $150 or tops, so it's like, I don't know,
I was trying to get heavy into the eBay space for a little while, and
don't they take a good percentage of it?
Man, dude, they fuck you to tears now. And some things you're forced, like if I buy these lots, for instance, before Tommy moved back down to Austin, that dealership got bought out, and somehow or another, it was through Maston. I bought a bunch of stuff from Maston, and then Maston linked me up with the dude Ted that runs the parts department down there at Cowboy, and said, "Hey man, they got bought out, and the new owner wants X amount of inventory removed and sold." So I came in and bought it, pennies on the dollar. But the deal was I had to buy all of it. So for $5,000, I filled that van up. Like you couldn't fit a fucking sandwich in there. Like I'm not even exaggerating. When I showed up to load it all, that guy Ted was like, "Oh, well, just come do the first trip, and then, maybe we'll do the second trip." And I'm like, "No, I'm getting it all today. Like I'm getting it all now." And that's one of the rules that I've learned with buying and selling. Whether you're buying or selling, you get while the getting's good.
Yeah.
And I learned this from my lady. The biggest deal killer is time.
Yeah.
And that's whether you're buying or selling. If you put any time in between a deal, if if you're going to sell me your FXR and you and I agree on a price and I say, okay, I'll be back in 2 weeks to pick it up, you're going to have some time to think about it, and that might change.
Yeah,
and
or on your end too. Yeah.
Absolutely, and exactly on my end.
That's why I make people put deposits down for paint.
Yeah.
Because usually they'll we have a big wait list time that I can even take on the project, but I always want that security 6 months down the line knowing that I have work still, right?
Yeah.
So unless they put a significant amount of money down, they'll usually like whatever. So when I was doing bikes a lot, I would, people start hitting me up at the end of summer for winter paint jobs, right? And I'd always make them put $500 down as a deposit. And you wouldn't believe how many people still would back out and lose that $500 deposit. Like I probably made $4 or $5 grand over the course of like 2 years just in people backing out of paint jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was like, well, shit, maybe I need to charge $1,000.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Then that starts eating into the actual deposit. Like you don't want so much that like it's like now if I did $1,000 on a $10,000 bagger paint job, that's like some of what I might need to pay somebody to help out, like Matt or somebody that's going to do some work for it or materials. So it's like you don't want to take so much that it becomes a significant chunk that's just gone.
Yeah.
And but yeah.
Yeah, I start to lose my focus too if there's not enough money on the table. Like if somebody prepays me for something, I don't like that.
I don't like getting paid up front to do anything.
Right. I want to have, otherwise the carrot's not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so when I went and bought all that stuff from Cowboys, and it was like I couldn't open all these boxes and look at it. It was all laid out for me with spreadsheets of all the part numbers and the retail prices. It was an eBay dream.
Yeah.
But I had to take all of it. There was no fucking, you can take bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing 2 Thunderheader boxes and I was like, oh, badass. As I'm loading shit, I'm like, I'm trying to do math of what could be there and what's not. And then, that's one of the downsides of what I do is you got to have somewhere to store the shit.
Yeah.
And at the time I had a shipping container that was on some property where me and Rennie had that shop at. And so it worked real well there. But it was, there's some things that you have to put on eBay because you have to have a bigger footprint. And some of the things that were in there, some of it was shit that my social media following is not into.
Yeah. Yeah, eBay hits everybody because if someone's trying to repair their bike that got wrecked,
right,
they're probably going to go to eBay and see if that crash bar is less than, crash bars, stock seats, we're talking about baggers, and like floorboards and stuff would always sell quickly because what is it like? Crash bars like $200 something new from Harley or $300.
Yeah.
And if you got a black one or chrome, whatever, and those things get scratched all the time because people dropping their bikes and like, man. So, I mean, I've been selling to I got my parts guys up here that would come by out my shop like once a year.
Yeah.
Just like takeoffs and shit that we'd get. And his house is like you're talking about. It's a single, 2-car garage, but you walk in his living room and it shelves. His whole house is like storage. Every room, it's got shit. Like this is the saddlebag room. Dude's a single man. It's just like, I got my place to eat, live, and the rest of the house is.
My house has got motorcycle shit inside of it, but it's all art. I got fucking flathead motor underneath my TV.
Oh, hell yeah.
As art stuff. But my storage room's overwhelming. And when you go through it, though, there are certain things that my following would never buy, know. And so you're forced to get into the eBay space. And so I, through YouTube, and Rennie helped me a little bit in the beginning of like how to learn how to do that shit on eBay. And at first it was real cool, man. But then the fucking fees went up. And it's now after you sell $600 in a year, they 1099 you. Like it's like some of the shit I already paid taxes on. Like what the fuck am I paying taxes on again for?
Yeah. And
so now I try to not do as much eBay shit. I have a little bit, listed there now, but like I've recently just sold an S&S 2-throat carburetor on there. S&S 2-throat carburetors usually bring, if you have all of it, the intake, the air cleaner, all that shit, $700-800. And I couldn't sell it for a little while. So I threw it on eBay. Sold it for $650. They kept $110.
Damn, that much?
110 of $650. When it was all said and done, 110 went to them.
That's crazy.
I was fucking floored. I was like, that. Can I get a shirt or something? God damn.
That's a lot. I mean, how do they expect that to? I mean, $110. That's damn near 20%.
It was a lot. Now I am on the understanding. You know, I talked to Josh on and off because he's in that space too, and he has an eBay store, and that is where you do save money if you have an eBay store. And I need to probably make that step.
Okay. Yeah, but I wouldn't. You know, if they're taking more than 3 to 5% like that, to me, that they're just ripping you off.
Dude, I was taken back when I saw what they were taking. I was
I mean, if you think about every transaction, I mean, the thing is, like, nowadays, it's like, you know, every bit of technology seemed to move us to a better, more proficient, like, way of doing things. But then greed comes into play, and it fucks everything up. It's like
every time.
Like PayPal and these, like, more or less internet or these app, you know, transferring things were great. And PayPal is like, I get it. Like they had it to where, you know, if this is a transaction, like obviously you pay like a 3% or whatever, just like a credit card.
Yeah.
Right. Which is understandable. And then of course, if you want to transfer at your bank, it was like a fee, but up to a certain percent. And then after that, it was just like, it is what it is. And after COVID, all that shit changed to where it's like, now the fees are kind of like, they move up and fluctuate with everything. And so it's like, I'll have thousands of dollars in PayPal transaction fees in a year.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And then you got all these, it's like everything that was just like, it felt like everything got our economy to where we were all relying on these things. And then they all turned off the switch and said, all right, now you got to pay us for all this shit. But none of us were quite equipped to pay for that. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what am I paying for what we used to get for free? Or is there another incentive here? Right.
Right.
Because if Instagram said, "Hey, we're gonna charge you $100 a month, but then we're gonna give you the same exposure you were getting on your stuff, you know, in 2020 or 2019," I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, I'll give you $200."
Yeah.
Right? Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
But they're not saying that. They're just like, "Hey, do you want to?" You know, they want you to pay for each individual.
Yeah.
Post
Like
I don't.
I want people and I want things to make money. You know? But goddamn, fucking $110 of my $650 was insane to me.
That's a lot, dude.
It was a lot.
That's like a dealer fee. That's what you would make if you were a dealer selling a product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was the fees, the taxes, whatever. It all added up, and I don't know. So I try to not be in that space too much anymore.
Mm-hmm. How long before marketplace starts like really hitting you with stuff?
That's what I'm waiting for.
You know, I mean, eventually, like all these platforms are going to see what they're providing and how it's becoming a part of someone's like career or their like how they make their money.
Yeah.
And they're all going to want a piece.
Yeah.
You know, as if like as if Meta doesn't have enough fucking money. You know, it's like, God, man.
Yeah.
It's like, why, you know, I don't mind paying for something, but it needs to be a flat fee. Like it needs to be like, look, if you want to use Marketplace, it's $10 a month. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right. Like I said, I want things to make money, and I understand that, but it always seems like it starts out free, and then over time they price you out. Yeah. Is what it feels like.
Yeah, they price you out. It makes it to where it's hard.
Did you put some new windows in my rental house before you up the fucking rent? You know, like what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly, man. So it's interesting to me. It's all interesting because for the last 14 years or so, it's felt like social media in almost every aspect was growing to help society in a way, right?
Yeah.
Everything about it, the connectivity of people, the exposure of different cultures and different scenes, if you will, the ability to reach more people with your art, with your ideas, with your anything you're doing. And now it's like, it's just the rugs pulled out from underneath it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, and of course this is like why we should have never gave so much of our put so much value in our existence on these platforms in the first place. But, you know, how do you not when you have essentially free advertising?
Yeah, and if that's, dude, I mean, that's so many people communicate that way. You know, it's you got to try to stay fluid with the times, or what are you going to do? You're going to be trying to sell shit on Craigslist. That's a
weird one. Every once in a while I go in there, I'm like, let's see what's on this place.
Yes.
It's just like even the app the website hasn't changed ever. It's just like it just seems so.
I find some deals
dated.
every once in a while.
I'm sure there's got to be. Right?
There's the older crowd still tries to play in that pool, and every once in a while I'll find a deal in there. But it's same thing. It's full of fucking furniture advertisements and shit. Yeah, you know,
it's just a mess everywhere. What about like OfferUp? Is that thing still around?
You know, I never really got into that. I don't know. I had the app once, and it just seemed very generic, I guess would be the word.
You know what's weird? I think eBay kind of played on this when they first came out back, almost 20 years ago or whatever. It's like they would try to put up these, you can get a PlayStation 2 for $20. Like all these like deals people find on this thing. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody's getting deals like that. Who would sell something that's worth $500 for $40?
Right. Sure.
Period. So it's like recently, the reason I thought about this, because recently I saw an ad for some new thing that's coming up. Like, these are the kind of deals on our website. I'm like, who the fuck's giving those deals out? Dumbasses? It's like, I don't see how that's going to, like, last long before.
Yeah. You know what I am happy to see, though? You know, there was some years where when eBay was real hot, when swap meets and shit went away. You know, when I was a kid, my dad and his friends, they all rode shovel heads and shit, and they all built their shovel heads through swap meets.
Yeah.
You know, and that shit, there was some years where that shit was dead. Like, you didn't hear swap meets coming around for a while. And now they're all resurfacing, and it's happening again, and that's been a good thing.
See, I feel like that's in conjunction with what we're just talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's so much, not that it's harder to sell online because obviously you reach more people, but it's becoming like, $120 off. Like, now we're talking swap meet prices.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. And to be a swap meet seller, you've also got to know that, like, what you're going to take to the swap meet needs to be shit that you're going to take with swap meet prices. You know, you can't take FXR title frames and expect that they're going to bring fucking $1,500 at a swap meet. That's not, nobody's there to do that.
I was standing next to you at the last one, the Fort Worth swap meet, when that girl asked you about a book. It was $10. It was, I think it was Sonny Barger book.
Yeah.
And she's like, will you take 5? I'm like, the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, but to me, if it's in my swap meet pile, then I don't give a fuck about it. I don't want to put it back in the van.
Yeah, yeah.
So when they say, will you take $5? I'm like, yeah. Fucking get it on down the road.
See, I'm not good with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It is tough. It's funny. I somehow, like, Fandango's coming up, and I sell there every year. And, man, I have fun there. True. And I like, part of the fun is talking shit with people.
Yeah.
Part of the fun is that haggle, you know. Hey, can I go see if this fits on my bike? I'll be like, yeah, leave me one tennis shoe, and you can go take it over to your bike. You know, like, I just talk shit, and I have fun, and we have a blast there. You know, but I remember some years when swap meets were fucking dead. You know, that shit didn't happen. And now they're all they're resurfacing, and they're good.
What do you think right now is like, obviously, like, what do you think the bike is right now people are looking for,
Man, we lightly talked about that before the podcast started, and it's funny that you brought that up, because I was trying to think of that, because to be somebody who buys and sells, you have to stay relevant on what is hot and what's not. Like, right now, I got some bagger shit right now that a year ago would have sold in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And now it's not selling right now. I kind of feel like, oddly enough, old Softail shit's kind of coming back around.
Like Evo Softails or
Yes.
Wincams?
Yeah. And it's funny because, was it 2 years ago? I went to that Mecum motorcycle auction in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend at the time bought me, it was a birthday gift, bought us tickets, and we flew out there, and we were at the auction for fucking 3 days. And dude, probably one of the coolest bike events I've ever been to. And I wasn't picturing that. I didn't know what to picture. Like, I was thinking it was going to be nothing but expensive bikes, expensive people, and there was something there for all tax brackets. You could buy, dude, I saw a 0-mile 76 shovel head that was a dealer award bike. Like, in the 70s, I guess Harley was giving out award bikes to dealerships that were top sales. And there was two, a 76 and a 77, and they had like gold accents. with 0 miles, been sitting in a dealership for years. And at auction, they sold for $5,000. I was like, I would have fucking bought that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
all day.
It's like the only one that doesn't leak.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Now
But that whole experience, man, it was a motorcycle history lesson.
Yeah.
I saw shit there that I'll probably never see again. Old stuff, new shit, you know, but I don't know, that auction opened my eyes to like some auction world, and it all that swap meet stuff, all that kind of stuff is all coming back around. Mm-hmm. And you know, to get back to what we were talking about, what's the bike right now? I think that, so at the Meekum event, an old man told me, he said, mark my words, the next thing that's going to be hot is he said, start buying old Softail shit and hanging on to it. Mm. And I was like, old Softails, they don't really do much for me. I don't like the way they ride.
Yeah.
I personally don't like the way that chassis rides. My dad's always liked them. I have one of his bikes right now that I'm trying to sell, and I just hate the way they ride.
Yeah.
And so I kind of let it go in one ear and out the other. Well, then now it's happening though. Like, I'm starting to see some people are reaching out to me. Hey, you got this and that. You got a Softail swing arm. And if you look on eBay and shit, some of that shit's going up in price. Mm. But I think that as far as the younger crowd, I feel like choppers are kind of gonna be here for a minute.
Yeah, I mean they I don't know. It's hard to say they ever go away. I just think they go underground and then they come back up.
Right, and I think that what I'm seeing right now is that shit's kind of coming back up. Like, a lot of these young dudes are wanting fucking generator motors and all that stuff. You know, I don't know. I can't.
Those things are just getting more and more expensive though. To get, like, you know, generators and
yes,
back
they're fucking
versus like
outrageous.
just a cone shovel. Like, it's just a complicated mess to go.
You can find a cone shovel for $5,000 all day.
That's if I was gonna do one, I'd do that. Because
right.
I would rather just have. I don't need cool points in that world.
Exactly.
I'd love to have a shovel head. I could give two shits less if it's a generator or not.
Right.
You know. But yeah, the Softail thing's interesting because I was having these conversations while I was out in California with some guys too, and basically it's almost like the market or the scene or whatever you want to equate it to, it leans towards a bike that's cheap and people will buy them and customize them, and most of us don't even know that could look that way, and then we start seeing it and it starts kind of blowing up. You know, Corey Main Drive was telling me when we came and did the Patreon podcast the other day about those old Softails. Like, they're great bikes if you want to turn them into choppers too. That's what when I look at them, that's the only thing I'd ever want to do with one is to turn one into a chopper. Yeah, it's get you an old, like, you know, shovel head, not a shovel head, the Evo style.
Evo, right.
Softail, and just chop that back half off and throw I'm sure someone makes a back section to put on it.
They absolutely do. So to me, I feel like. Or you could keep the back section and have a chopper looking bike with a little bit of suspension. Yeah. That to me, and I actually recently just sold a Softail to a guy that did that with one, and he did a great job with it. Yeah. And it was a bike that came out of Corpus, you know, and fucking Corpus bikes are always rusty. Yeah. And this thing looked like shit. Forrest Hawthorne, longtime buddy of mine, and he's down in San Antonio area. Mm-hmm. Really known for building really clean, simple choppers. Mm. He's a teacher by day, and then does choppers like on the side. And man, he took an old Evo Softail and made a great looking, very bare bones bike. Yeah, no turn signals, just bare bones, internal fender struts, and real simple stuff, man. And it's a great looking bike now. Like I've said it a million times, but doing that bike with Corey, him showing me how like they would wire things up for like chopper style stuff. It's like, man, like, it's so simple and so easy. It's like I kind of want to do more shit like that, you know? I feel like that's what's going to be the bike for a little while is simple, bare bones choppers, whether it be old choppers or modern choppers. I feel like that's going to be a thing for a little while. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I haven't had a chopper since I was in my fucking 20s. And I have a 77 shovel head that is what I'm messing with right now.
Yeah.
But it's an FLH, and I'm going to do like a mild custom FLH. You know, I'm going to keep it FLH. I'm not turning it into any kind of chopper.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of people. How's the FXR stuff going?
Man, I feel like the FXR stuff is down a little bit.
Yeah.
It was real hot for a little while the fucking FXR tour was going on. Like, I was selling FXR shit like crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep it. And people hit me up for frames. It was weird because so many people hit me up for frames, and it somehow or another they just started showing up. Like, titled fucking frames were showing up, and now I can't find a titled frame to save my life. To just find a bare bone frame.
Yeah.
You know, there's bikes. Bikes are on the market, but I can't find any frames. I got somebody right now hit me up looking for a 92 frame only. I'm like, I got a 92 running FXLR bike, but I don't have frame only, and I can't find any.
It's a good price too on that fucking FXLR.
Dude, it's fucking cheap, but it's also got all the wrong shit about it. Somebody in the early 2000s got a hold of it and fucking cut the rear fender to a point.
Yeah, but it's like for the price
wide glide
that
front
is,
end. Yeah, absolutely.
Versus like what you would pay, like the typical going rate for a titled frame. We're talking like a couple more grand on top of that, and you have like everything.
Yeah.
Right? A running bike essentially that, yeah, there might not be some parts that you want, but as I've always told people, like if you're going to build something and you know, like having a complete bike to take from and then rebuild is sometimes easier, especially unless you've done this a lot of times.
Absolutely.
You know,
sourcing all the hardware,
the little shit,
it's fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That LR I have right now, it's got an S&S motor in it with a spline shaft transmission. You know, it's got good bones.
Yeah.
With an LR tank, which, you know, LR tanks and center fill tanks are always desirable. It needs a narrow glide front end to be put back on it.
Yeah.
It needs a set of wheels to be put back on it. You know, it needs shocks, bars, and a correct rear fender.
Yeah.
But, dude, to find a riding titled FXR for under $5,000 is unheard of. And I have two right now, and they're not selling. And I don't know if that's because the FXR market's down or if that's just the economy itself is down. Probably maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. I was floored when y'all were doing the tour about how much FXR questions and shit that came across my table.
Even now, like with all the new builders, like a lot of I don't think we have anybody doing anything chopper related this year. I think most of it's people going M8, which I guess that's kind of like obviously the move. I mean, it's the most reliable way you can build an FXR these days.
Yeah.
And as proof in the pudding with like Corey's, you know, Justin's and FXR division, like the M8 platform in those bikes, it just rips. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, I think 4 of the new builders are doing M8s, maybe even 5. And then but now I know I've seen Al Emerson's got a killer FXR frame going on.
Fucking rad.
And there's
but he's always doing rad shit, man.
Yeah. And there's like 4 more people I think that I've noticed that are doing FXR chops. And I think it's badass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wonder because the FXR scene just kind of got stagnant for a while.
Yeah.
You know? Not that there weren't cool bikes. I mean, there's every year there's cool shit coming out, but it just wasn't like nothing jumping at you, you know?
Yeah, I have an 89 chassis that I'm hanging on to for a personal project of mine and with a twin cam. And I'm going to twin cam it. It's been done a fucking 1,000 times, but that's what I have.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of twin cam parts. Like
the twin cams are everywhere, dude.
Absolutely.
Those bagger motors, you can find them complete for like $2,000.
Yeah.
Primary, tranny.
Absolutely.
You know.
And I was going to start that project next, but I want to finish my shovel head first. Mm-hmm. And that was a discussion that me and my lady had about what this year looks like. And
what does this year look like for you? I mean, like what is the thing?
I've finally got my LLC for my what was just a little side hustle for a little while, and I'm trying to actually turn it into a little bit of a side business more so, you know, get an LLC and get some shirts made and, you know, do the thing. I was talking to her, I was like, you know, you could be a parts guy and a bike sales guy all you fucking want, but really, like, I need to also put some bikes out. You know, like, I need to put a bike together and put some vision out.
Yeah.
I've built some bikes in my years. It's been some years since I've done it. But it was all early chopper shit, you know, when I was in my 20s. And the last couple bikes, like my bagger, I can't say like I built my bagger, but I don't know. I've also got a different opinion about that. Like, everybody's always weird about that term builder. And like, I don't ever term myself as a builder, but I've definitely put together my fair share of bikes.
Yeah.
I didn't build my bagger, but I definitely turned it into what it is now.
I like to say customized.
Sure.
It feels, I feel like builder is like bestowed upon you. Like someone else can call you a builder, but calling yourself a builder is kind of like, you know, it's like, I'm an artist. Like,
you're right. Because I do that I'm real heavy about that with my day job.
Yeah.
I've been welding for years, and I've welded under some of the baddest fucking welders you've ever seen in my trade. And true pipe welders, man, they're like, to find a really good, what we call a code welder, not just a welder, like somebody who can weld to standard code is hard. And that's what we have to do in our trade.
Yeah.
And I came up under some of the baddest fucking welders in San Antonio, and all those dudes were like, man, dude, you fucking, and I taught a welding class for some years, and some of my students would be like, oh man, you're a great welder. I'm like, I don't think I'm a welder.
Yeah.
I don't, it's hard to term myself as that.
Well, it's kind of like if you're chasing the title versus the skills,
sure.
You know, because most people that are truly passionate about whatever they're doing, they don't need the title. They need, they want to do the thing. And then as you do the thing, other people say, oh man, you're a great photographer. You're a great this. Yeah. I've always felt weird. It's like everything I pick to like pursue passion wise is something that I don't feel like I'm allowed to call myself. I
taught a welding class for 6 years, and in my trade, we have an apprenticeship that we send students through. It's a 5-year program. I went through the same apprenticeship when I got into the trade. And in my 4th year of my apprenticeship, the leadership of the school approached me and asked if I would teach a welding class whenever I turned out. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not a fucking teacher. And they just saw something in me that I guess I didn't see in myself. And they gave me an opportunity, and I tried it, and I did it for 6 years, and I loved it. But the whole time, everybody would be like, oh yeah, he's a welding teacher. I'm like, I don't think I'm a welding teacher. Like, I don't feel like I'm just showing some people what I've been shown. That's all. And trying to give some, trying to give some people something. And I still today, man, recently I actually sold some bike parts to one of my students that I had a couple of years ago. He's building a little rigid frame Evo chopper, and he reached out looking for some parts. He bought a motor and transmission and shit from me, and he's like, hey man, I want to let you know, dude, that you really showed me some things that have helped me pursue my career and helped me put food on my table, and I really appreciate that. And I was like, wow, man, I never looked at it like that. Like, you know, it was cool and humbling. Yeah. But still, like, it was hard for me to like label myself as a teacher. Like, I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Well, like I said, if you get lost in the like, what do you call yourself? It's, you know, that's, you know, I have this thing that I have to send to a lot of brands whenever I'm like working with them or trying to work with them.
Sure.
And it's kind of like feels like a dating kind of like profile, but for like what I do. And it's just like you're trying to church yourself up so much, and you just feel so gross doing it. And so I just kind of like did all, you know, I say all the things that I dabble in. And at the end of it, now that cringy shit is out of the way, this is what I'm trying to do, you know, and it just feels weird doing that.
Sure.
Right? But, you know, that's why, like, I guess some people that are kind of more or less in whatever facet of the world of, like, whether it's social media, ambassadors, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's why certain people are usually the people that are like the ambassadors for brands, because they're the type that, whether they're the best at what they do or not, they're just the ones that are willing to put themselves up there that way. Reach out for that stuff. You know?
I was having that same talk. Me and I was at Tommy's shop a couple weeks ago. I sold him a T-Sport. And Cody Melton was there. Yeah. You know, and Cody Melton's fucking good at what he does.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and I was like, man, I need to be better about like learning algorithms, and I need to be better about learning how to market myself to grow my following some, so that I can have more customers, whether it be to buy or to sell.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you know, it's a hard thing to do, because he was there videoing some guys or salesmen there, and he's videoing them so that way they can make some reels and shit. And he got done videoing this guy, and he's like, so how do you feel about that one? The guy was like, it was gross. Every bit of it was gross. I hated it. I was like, yeah, I'm not good at that either. Like, I'm not good at trying to market myself. And Cody was like, well, let me know. Like, I'll help you do it. And I'm like, it's still like putting myself in the light. It feels weird.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, like, being on this podcast, for the most part, it was always about just doing this.
Sure.
Not cameras, not this. That's just the direction this platform, it's pushed everybody that wants to be relevant in it. You kind of got to go this direction. And then once you start doing cameras, and it's like, okay, well, if you want to take it to the next level, you got to start being more of a face of it. So some of the brands that I've been talking to that I'm probably going to work with in the years to come, they've asked me to be more of a face of my brand. And it's
to be honest, I watch all the podcasts, and I used to listen to all the podcasts, and I do enjoy watching them more than I do listening to them. When people reach out and ask me about the podcast I did with LFG, I tell them, get on YouTube and watch that one. Yeah. That, to me, that one translates better than the one where you just listen to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm guilty of it too. Like I enjoy your video podcast now more than I enjoyed just the ones. The other day if I'm eating dinner at home, like, I don't watch TV.
Yeah, neither do I.
If I'm at home, I'm either doing shit in my garage, answering calls or messages from people that are reaching out to me for parts or bikes, shipping shit. Like, I'm moving around. And so when I sit down to eat dinner, I don't put TV on. I do put YouTube on. Mm-hmm. And the other day I wanted to listen to the one that you and Saxon just did.
Yeah. That was just audio.
Yeah, and it was just audio, and I didn't know. I put it on YouTube, so it was YouTube with just like your brand name, and I had to listen to that, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I felt like I got robbed, you know? Yeah. Like, I wanted to watch you and Sax on video. And,
the video, even now, like, I've got some stuff in the works that's going to even take the video to the next level. But in order to do that, to be able to go to this next level that I want to take with video, put it like this. Like, let's just say this conversation we're having now. When I go back and I sit down to put the edit down, because we don't do them live anymore, when I go edit this, to add an intro, to add the advertisements, to put a little bit of music before and at the end, I can usually do that in like an hour and a half, right? Because this thing's already edited, like all the cameras back and forth. That's what Matt's doing right now. So every time we talk back and forth, he's doing that edit in real time. That's how we were able to do it live. Well, what happens is that board that he uses only allows us to do videoing at a certain frame rate, right? And that frame rate is not the typical frame rate that, like, we'll do for like a normal video. So 24 frames a second versus 30 frames versus 60 versus 120. So they only allow you to do this at 30 frames a second, which is an odd number compared to what most videos are at 24 frames. And you can't do 4K, it's all 1080p. So this other way would be basically however many cameras would all record, right? And then I would take these 3 different videos back to the shop or back to the computer and have to overlay them all and listen to the entire podcast and do my own cuts back and forth. And so basically, like Get Bent Moto does, it's just 10 times the work. But obviously the polished product, I mean, Ben's stuff is phenomenal, and it just makes it better.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, like, I've always wanted to be at a point with this podcast to where I can make it a better experience to watch. And then I'd also be able to put, like, if we're talking about this, I can put up, a clip or something that would, like, pertain to what we're talking about. And I'd be able to take out small conversations that were really good because I literally just watched it. I'm present to it, as opposed to, when I go to edit this podcast we're on now, like, this probably won't come out till the end of February because of what we have in the books, right? So if I go back to listen to this, I'm going to forget some of these things that were like, oh, that was a good spot. We can make that a small video.
Yeah.
You know, so like I said, right now, the pursuit of trying to take this to another level, it's just more work. So I got to be able to be more freed up to do that. And, but it's scary.
My lady's been, you know, like I said, she's better with that kind of part than I am. Like video, like she used to have to do that at Harley. Like they'd have to video these things and make these commercials. And I've had a couple people say like, you know, you should video some of what you do because people want to see that. And I'm like, man, that feels weird. And I feel like that's been done, you know, like one of the picks that I went on was after I bought my house, Melissa, Scott's girl, reached out to me. She was selling a house in Seguin that the family was in Utah. And there was a 1967 cop bike that had been sitting outside for years, like fucking buried in the sand. And had to drive onto this, I think it was like a 120-acre ranch or some shit.
Yeah.
Had to drive way back in this thing, and it was kind of a scary situation because the dude that was living there like held his grandmother hostage in the house and was keeping her money, cooking meth, like lit a freaking Airstream on fire. Like it was a whole situation. He wasn't there, like, but she told me all this before we went out there. And driving on this property, I was like, man, this would be a cool one to video.
Yeah.
And like digging this thing out of the sand and getting it in the van would have been a cool thing to video. And
you know, that's how Gas Monkey started, right? So Richard Rollins, like here in Dallas, before all that stuff, he had a film guy in the 2000s that would follow him around to all the shows as he wheeled and dealed stuff. So he made Gas Monkey and then pitched it to, Discovery a long time ago. And that's the kind of shit they used to do. And I think there's an attraction to that. Like the people in general watching, like they like to see the deals.
Sure.
But it does kind of make people, what we talked about earlier, oh, let me see if I can get this dude down to $20,000.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever. But now it seems like most of that stuff's like staged and whatnot.
I remember seeing Richard before he was ever on TV. I used to see him every year at the Lone Star Roundup.
Yeah.
In his car. And it's funny because when you see him on TV, like, he ain't afraid to show his arrogance.
Yeah, but
and in person back then, like I remember trying to talk to him about it. He had a chop top car where the back wheels were above the roof, and I tried to make some conversation with him, and he didn't want to talk to anybody. He was just kind of like,
and I get that that's not like ideal. Like everybody wants everybody to be even keel, good vibes, but like. I know a lot of really solid dudes, right? That doesn't mean they're going to be good on TV or YouTube or any of that shit. So you have to almost have a little bit of narcissism to be able to be in the spaces of social media and put yourself out there. Yeah. And some of us have too much and we're trying to, dial it into more acceptable numbers, if you will. But I mean, the thing is, like, you need people that to be on this, you can have like great builders or great people that are doing good stuff, but if they don't have like something about them that makes you want to watch them, whether it's cringy or whether it's something, like quiet people don't go far on social media. Yeah. Or on social or YouTubes and videos and TV, right? Right. I mean, I've said this a million times, but like when we did those pilots for Biker Build Off a long time ago and how, they wanted me to be this like tough guy biker, like fuck you. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm not that guy, man. No. Like, it's like they, that's what those execs saw that they wanted. And that's honestly, believe it or not, like, I feel like a lot of people that are outside of actual living, breathing motorcycles, they like that bravado of motorcycling. Yeah. That's why all the TV shows and whatnot revolved around outlaw biker life always seems to do better than if it's about, just general motorcycling, right? Yeah. Nobody talks about the, what is that fucking, I think Wild Hogs is probably one of the best motorcycle movies of all time. It's a joke for a lot of it, but it's actual like substance underneath it.
We just watched it again recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I watched that again recently.
If they took the premise of that and got rid of all the jokes and the bullshit out of it and made it like a serious thing, like what they did as friends together is what I think most people look for in motorcycles.
Absolutely.
I mean, trust me, as guys, as we ride across the country, we're not like running into outlaw clubs and having fights. It's got its own sets of problems that you could turn into stuff.
Sure.
But like I said, even like Harley Davidson and Marble Man, great movie. It's not really
that's
about
the other one I was going to say. I just watched it again recently.
It's not about like club life. It's about people that can hold. It's the Roadhouse basically is what it is.
Yeah. Me and Scott Wheelo were bullshitting back and forth recently because when I was a kid, like that bike from that movie was the fucking baddest. I wanted that FXR real bad.
With the solid struts.
Yes, dude. Yes. But when I was in those days, lowering bikes and all that shit, that was what everybody did. Yeah. Now I can't stand a bike that's lowered. Like I want some fucking ground clearance to a motorcycle because I want to ride it.
Yeah.
But my dad, all his buddies, they slammed all their bikes, and I remember my dad made this cut down seat so he could sit down farther into the bike.
Yeah.
And he made it out of leather all himself and rode that fucker to Sturgis and back and came back and had the craziest blister on his ass you ever seen on a man.
Yeah.
And all because so you could sit a little lower on the bike to have that stance that they were going for then.
Cool ain't comfortable, man.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
There's something about it though. You see someone, I don't know. I mean, obviously like our idea of what cool is, kind of evolves. Like I haven't released a podcast yet, but the one I did with Oliver at Cut Rate is actually the next one that's going to be dropping. We had some good talks about like, he thinks, and this is what I was talking about earlier, he thinks that one of the next popular bikes is going to be that 80s, early 90s style bike that's going to kind of resurface because a lot of us, like that's my childhood,
Sure. Yeah, mine
versus a lot of other people's childhood might have been the generator shovels of the 70s, seeing those things,
yeah, and
running around.
He's into that stuff too. And
dude, he's a wealth of knowledge, man.
Oh, I know. I've got to spend some time with him recently, and he's being somebody that plays in the parts in the bike space. Like you got to have, because I can't know all the fucking shit to know about every part. Oliver's somebody I reach out to about certain things. Brooks Blanton, somebody I reach out to about certain things. You got to take a little bit of knowledge from this guy, that guy to form an opinion on, and they're all super helpful with their knowledge, and they all reach out to me for certain things. Mm-hmm. When I was on my bike trip, I was at Oliver's shop, and while I was there, he had some like kind of newer legends, and he's like, "What would you price those at? I don't really know those." And dude, put them online for $300. They'll sell. Like, are you trying to make the most, or are you trying to sell them today? He's like, I'm trying to sell them today. Put them on for $300. And he's like,
yeah.
Damn, I wish I had 5 pairs of those because he had people just hitting them up. And Oliver's a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. And he's got a good vision too. I'm glad to have made some friendships with him, and we went to go do some picking together when he was here for Born Free. After Born Free, he came down and stayed at my house, and we went down to a family that I grew up around. The old man passed away, and this dude had, and still lots of stuff out there. Tractor trailers full of parts.
Damn.
That was one of the, going out there and picking parts. Brooks Blanton came down there and bought a bunch. I brought a bunch of people down there and bought some stuff from the family to put money in the bank for my friend's mom. Mm-hmm. The Ferguson family, their family I grew up around. And when I was a kid, that was where my dad got his bike worked on.
Oh, okay.
And dude, Johnny Ferguson's got an overwhelming amount of stuff. Dude, panhead shit, flathead shit, and just tractor trailers full of it.
Damn.
And when I was at Oliver's, I told him that, it was all there. And so he's like, well, I'm going to be in the area. I want to come look through it. So he came down there, bought some stuff, and man, we had a blast.
That's cool.
Spent the day down there doing that shit, and that shit's fun. And it was fun, like, to watch him and my buddy Tony. Tony's Johnny's son. I grew up with Tony. Tony knows, he's very knowledgeable about old vintage Harley shit. So watching him and Oliver like fucking pick things up and be like, oh, that's this and that. And some of it was shit, I don't even know what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It was a learning curve. And
See, knowing him, knowing you, knowing Brooks, like I want to dabble in it, but at the same time, like I don't have the time to commit the way you guys do to like that kind of stuff. But I do want to start a collection of things, that way I can start having things here when I do build other stuff. Because right now I'm just interested in, just making things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really, like, that whole thing last year just flipped a switch in me that like was reinvigorating, and I keep trying to tell everybody, it's like, if you've only been in the motorcycle game for 5 years, right? You haven't quite hit that first hump in your career in motorcycling where you need to evolve, right? Because usually you don't stay like balls deep into the same scene or the same genre of bikes, if you will. You kind of got to evolve yourself. Like, when I was younger, it was like, well, I think I want to be a stunt rider. Then it was a racer. Then it was like, I'm just going to customize bikes. That's really what I'm good at, Versus then it turns into, I want to travel on bikes. And I still want to travel, but now I want to make more of the shit so that when I travel, I get to, feel that differently. But,
absolutely.
A lot of people in the last couple of years have been putting lots of money into like their bikes, right? And with bikes not really selling well right now, it's like, well, you got to do that out of the passion for wanting to have this bike cool for yourself, not because you want it to sell to somebody, right?
Yeah.
Because people just aren't buying custom bikes like that right now,
right?
I've had more people hit me up and offer me retarded numbers for my FXR than the CVO. And it's like crazy because people. I haven't put it out there like this, so I'm saying this with that preface that like people will offer me $40,000 for my FXR, but they will never ask me to build one for them, which was weird.
Yeah.
Even though obviously I would still have to like rely on other people to help me make it happen. I'm gonna give me $40,000. I'll make that fucking bike happen.
Sure,
quick,
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I think a CVO falls in a kind of a category of its own.
Yeah.
I remember seeing when you got rid of that bike and got the CVO, and I was like, well, that's cool. There's probably money to be made on that bike. But I also remember thinking to myself, like, I think that's kind of a category of its own.
Yeah, I don't have the audience for that ownership.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I don't either. And that's, I was trying to picture myself, like, if I came up on a CVO, like, where would I try to sell it? Obviously, I'd try to sell it on all the fucking platforms because that's what I have to do. And I mean, that's what I do now. But I don't have the audience for.
I feel like I need to just go sit it at Strokers and put
that's
it for sale.
Probably a good thing. Yes.
And Rick's going to be like, hey, I'm going to need commission off that. It's like, just take my sign off real quick. So no.
Yeah, that Police Road King I have right now that I don't know why I still have. It's so weird to me that it didn't sell instantly. I know a dude that's a motorcycle cop, and I reached out to him. I was like, hey, bro, I got a fucking police bike that's super low miles, super clean. Do you got any buddies? And he's like, man, all my buddies ride BMWs now. But February 24th in Round Rock, Texas is the Motorcycle Cop Rodeo. He's like, take that son of a bitch up there, and I guarantee you'll sell it. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go. So if it don't sell by then, I'm putting it in the van.
Yeah.
And I'm going to the rodeo, and I'm gonna fucking put a for sale sign on.
Dude, if I didn't have to sell the CVO, dude, I'd fucking keep that bike, throw an exhaust and some bars on it, and be done. Like, the bike is awesome, but I need to sell it to take care of taxes and stuff.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So it's like, that's exactly why I was trying to sell the other bagger. Had a really shitty CPA over the last couple of years. I got a new one in the works, and I just want to have as much money to cover everything that I got to cover and start over, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it's like it's just bad timing, new models drop, all this stuff, and you're kind of in the same.
For some reason, CVOs don't do it for me. I don't know why. Like, I would rather have a standard over a CVO because I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I know all the stuff that I'm gonna want to change.
Well, that's kind of the new CVO. The new CVO ST, I mean, if I was to, like, I want one, I wouldn't do anything to it, man. I'd do the rider triangle, bar seat exhaust.
The rider triangle,
and throw some paint on it, and I wouldn't touch that I wouldn't change the wheels. I wouldn't change any of the body parts. I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
That's kind of the idea of a CVO is that you really don't need to do anything to it. And so the taste is going to obviously tap into the customer, right? So the CVO I have, it's got like the black chrome everywhere, which to me is dope because that's a finish that's not really obtainable for most people, you know? And the motor's like this like gray color. So it's like the bones of the bike, if you wanted to customize it, it's pretty sick. You know what I mean? But the same thing, it's like I don't want to reach out and go, or I don't want to go buy a bunch of parts for this bike. You know, CVO, it's like it's just a solid color bike, you know, but it has the short bags that came factory like that. It's just a solid color bike, but at the same time, if I paint it, does the CVO market it's kind of for now doesn't want it because they would rather have the stock CVO paint job, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like in that boat.
That's a weird spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, bells and whistles, it's got it, man. Those things, it's nice.
I get people that reach out to me all the time with, like, for instance, the 2 FXRs I've been hanging on to.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you put bars and this and that on it, and then it'll sell? I'm like, yeah, I could, but then my profit margins are out the road.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I to me, the key to making money, if you're gonna be if you're gonna buy and sell, you got to buy and you got to not do shit to it, and you got to sell, because once you put bars on it and you factor in what you're going to spend on that shit and your time, and nobody, well, my time's not nothing. Well, your time is something. Yeah, your time, my time, I feel like needs to be credited by some kind of income.
Yeah.
You know, unless I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it for myself, then sure. But if I'm trying to make $1 on it,
yeah,
I don't do shit. I'm not. That LR I have right now, if I put, and I have a front end, I have like 5 sets of 9-spoke mags. I could make that bike a fucking really killer bike in a matter of a day and a half.
Yeah.
But now my profit margins are out the window.
Yeah, you can almost sell that front end with not on the bike for more than you would get if you added it to the bike.
Absolutely. And that, you know, that's something that in my space that I kind of don't like. Like, I don't like that if I part an FXR out, I can make more money. I don't like that if I part out a fucking shovel head that I can make more money. Like, I'd rather it stay together as a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But the facts are that is if you part it out, you can fucking make more money. And I hate that. But that's, I don't know what's created the market to be like that.
That's when my gold FXR, the one from a long time ago.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I was $20-something thousand into that bike. And then I knew the motor was going out, right? So when I sold that motor and I sold the whole drive chain together, I sold it for like just right at $2,000, right?
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, look, this motor could be fine or it could be going. I really don't know.
Yeah,
but it's doing this. And he's like, cool. But it was like a good primary, good transmission. You know, Mark had rebuilt everything at Texas Performance Motorcycles, all that stuff, right? But then, you know, I sold the swing arm for $1,000. I sold the wheels originally for like $2,000.
Yeah.
And then the paint work I sold for $5-something. And then dude sent me his tins, gave me his stock ones, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool watching. Like, I follow that dude that bought your paint work.
Yeah. That dude's got some killer FXRs.
He's got some killer shit.
He's got a bunch of badass FXRs. Right. So yeah, I parted that whole thing out, and then I bought like a cheap lowrider, like an 02 lowrider, and then like the front suspension and a few other parts that I just had laying around. I just put those on that bike, and then ended up selling that bike that I bought for $2,000 after I cleaned it up, threw some parts on it. I sold that for like $9,000.
Yeah, and
then that bike was literally sold, and the money I got off of that was the deposit for the bagger that you know, the main one I've had for the last couple of years, not the one I just got rid of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, but I would sell it on a fucking Instagram story. I just posted, hey, I'm selling this. Oh, how much? Now, like I said, because there's no reach anymore.
Yeah.
Like 500 people are seeing my shit versus the 60,000 people that are on there, you know?
Yeah, that's fucked up. I don't know. I feel like that needs to change because it wasn't like that, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. The social media is going like in a weird direction, I guess.
Yeah. But, you know, that it does suck because like some bikes you don't want to have to part out.
Dude,
you know,
I hate it. Like, I would rather see them, especially like a fucking, you know, shovelhead shit, and in that world, matching number shit matters.
Yeah.
And man, to me, that shit needs to stay together, you know?
Yeah.
But man, it's unfortunately you make more if you part the fuckers out.
Or raffle them.
Man, it's funny you bring that up because I was talking with who the fuck just was telling me that I should try to raffle one of my bikes. You know, because I have some things they would be easy raffles. You know, $5,000, $50, fucking $100. You know, 100 spots, $50 a piece, whatever. You know, it would be easy, but I don't feel like I have the following for raffles. Like I feel like people that do well with raffles have a following for raffles.
See, I thought about with the CVO. Like, fuck, man, maybe if I 350 tickets.
You
like
have
that.
a fucking enough of a following that you could sell the tickets.
Maybe if people are seeing it, but it's like, I don't really know how that works. I don't know how that would work with my taxes. I don't know how any of that shit works. So
yeah,
that's kind of where it's like, you know, if I could justify it, I would do it in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, also, I don't know, man. Like, I guess I don't think there's anything wrong with raffles. I hate. I don't want to have to raffle off a bike.
I don't care to talk about how much money I've spent on them and haven't won a fucking thing.
I did one raffle recently with Rennie, and I've only done it once my entire life, and I put like $300 in. But it was also when he was doing like a, you know, not 2 for 1, but set 150 for 2.
Sure, yeah.
So I did like, let me get 4 tickets.
Yes.
And my problem is when I gamble, I start, okay, when I win this bike, that's how I think. And you're just setting yourself up for failure every time.
Well, some people swear that if you fucking put it into an existence, then it becomes, you know?
I don't know about all that. But
depending on how hippie you are.
I've never been a gambler, so, you know, just.
You know, my dad has that kind of luck. My fucking dad will win the craziest shit. My dad got rid of his personal shovel head, that like a bike that I grew up around. I posted some pictures of it today, like the family picture. We took family pictures with the family shovel head.
Yeah.
Well, this was a long time ago. The market was doing weird shit, and shovel heads were bringing real big money. Well, then it kind of like fell out for a while. I was probably 14 or 15 years old, and he's like, the only way he knew how to get rid of it, he got rid of it through a football pot. Because that was the only way that he could make he had a bunch of money in this bike.
Yeah.
And
how do football pots work? I never, like I said, I've never gambled. So
I'm not a sports guy at all.
Yeah. In the finals this Sunday, the NBA finals?
I don't know. I'm not a sports guy. But I was confused about it because they do them at my work all the time. You know, it's a bunch of squares, and my dad's paid what they called wrong way, right way at all 4 quarters. So at first quarter of the football of the Super Bowl, whatever the score is on that square, you know, you got numbers, and you buy squares. Well, then he had this huge party to pull numbers, and it was kind of like raffle, like you pull a token, and that's your number, you know. So that way, there's no way of like saying you scammed anybody.
Yeah.
You pulled your fucking number. You picked it like raffle style.
Yeah.
And your number goes on this board, and then there's numbers across the top and the side. And like, let's say your box is in the middle. First quarter wrong way is going to be, I forget. There's a wrong way and a right way on how it pays.
Yeah.
Well, his had really good odds, so it paid out money, wrong way, right way, all 4 quarters. Last quarter, right way got the Harley, wrong way got $1,000. And I was like 15, mowing yards, like making money. I'd already had I had a Honda chopper, a rigid frame, little 500cc Honda that I mowed a bunch of yards and bought. And I just knew that that fate was going to put that bike in my hands. For a 15-year-old, I spent $600 on a fucking raffle at 15.
Yeah.
Like, worked my ass off to get that money, and I lost my ass.
Damn.
Didn't win a fucking thing, and had to watch my dad's bike that like I grew up around. I wanted that thing so bad. Go to some other stranger, and so then from that day forward, I was always just like, it kind of ruined me for gambling.
Yeah.
And I never really gambled again until motorcycle raffles started happening. And in the last 2 years, I don't even fucking want to know what I spent on raffles.
Well, I'm good friends with Midwest Grinder and Homie himself. And so when the raffle stuff really kicked off here, those two were the guys that were winning all the time.
Sure.
And
they were playing the odds, though. And
and so, but they're the ones
putting the money in it, too.
Yeah, they'll invest $3,000 into it.
Right.
And, usually hit something, right? And then, I don't know. I just I don't. My luck is I put $3,000 in it and I lose.
And I've seen them do that too.
Yeah,
and
they're willing to, and I'm just not willing to lose $3,000.
I've seen Aaron do it. I watch the raffles and I look at their names. I'm like, wow, Aaron's got a bunch on this one.
Yep.
And I've seen him not, but he's also hit a lot.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times where I've had some money sitting in the bank and I'm like, man, maybe I'm gonna play the odds on this one.
Yeah, that $300 I sent to Rennie could help me get a bottle for my welder right now.
Right now, exactly. So. Yeah.
Thanks, Rennie.
Yeah, I've gotten to where the only raffles I play now, they have to have good odds.
Yeah.
And usually the lower ticket ones, like $50 a ticket, there's a turbocharged shovel head that's on a raffle right now, and it's a fucking dope bike, like Survivor, badass, real deal Survivor chopper. But this dude if you play in his, you got like a 1 in 30 chance because he pays out so much. First place is bike, and then very next ticket's $3,000, then $1,500, and there's a lot of shit to win there. Those are the raffles that I get into.
Yeah, I thought about doing the bike and then doing like a helmet paint job underneath that, you know what I mean, that way that people could win stuff. But like I said, I just don't really know if I do it and it works and I get it, then I'll probably start doing it more. And I don't know if I want to be in that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's I have a couple bikes right now that would benefit me if I would just do a little quick short raffle, because that seems to be the only way people are getting rid of shit.
I mean, it makes sense.
The two FXRs I'm trying to sell right now, I'm at the point where I'm cutting them loose for what I paid for them because I need the room in my garage because I got 2 more bikes coming. I'm picking up a bike this weekend when I'm up here. I don't have room for it. So that's why I just recently put on my page, fuck it, I'm cutting these 2 loose for what I paid. And I thought for sure they'd be gone by now. They're not. And so now I'm like, well, fuck it. Maybe I'll do a small raffle and try to make $500 on one so that way I didn't lose my ass.
Yeah.
Because buying one and having to cut it loose for what I paid for it, that, I do have time in it. So I basically did a lateral move, but, that's a chance you take sometimes.
Yeah.
So I was just having that conversation the other day with somebody, and they're like, just fucking do a little raffle. I think it'd be all right. And to me, it would suck too, man, as if I didn't sell it out and I had to fucking refund everybody their money. I feel like that would be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
It's I don't have the ability to take money from anybody without paying in to the platforms that I take the money in on. So I think when you refund money on that, they'll get it back. But I mean, if you think about $35,000, 350 people, and you say you had to refund 200 people, I think they give them their money back. But what if? Yeah, it should, right? But I mean, still on top of that, they're taking 3% or 4% from PayPal. So it's
that's something that some people don't factor in. There's some people that fucking hate raffles and talk shit on them.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, they only paid $7,000 for this bike and they're trying to raffle it for $15,000. And to me, I'm like, well, you're also not factoring in, especially if it's one that pays out. If it's just the
bike and that's it, yeah.
The bike and that's it, then yeah, that's a little crazy. But they also got to pay taxes on all that fucking transactions. It's not just they made all this money and they're done.
Yeah.
Typically for a hot minute, most of them were paying out more than just the bike. First, second, third, fifth place, and that you got to do the math of all of it before you start doing the math of what they made.
Yeah.
They do the math of it's $100. He sold 300 tickets. That bike's not worth that. That's the only math they do. They don't do the math of all the other little shit.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen Rennie do a couple where when he got rid of that bike that Jacob Connor built. He had to party and he had to pay for all that shit. There was money and I was there for that. Me and him were splitting a shot for that. Like, I got to see firsthand.
Yeah.
Raffling shit's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of questions you got to deal with every fucking day. You got to deal with the babies. You got to deal with, 4 different platforms of money coming in and keeping track of it all.
Yeah.
It ain't like they just fucking made a shit ton of money and they're fucking done. You know?
Yeah.
The haters fucking hate on that, though. They just do the simple, quick math and...
Yeah, and that just I mean, Raffles ain't going anywhere. That's going to be a part of like how it might be the only way that like in the future people will be able to afford some of these more higher end bikes that are being built. You know what I mean?
And that's why I think that like you said, it's not going away. I don't think it is either. Cause there's been plenty of bikes, the raffles that I pay. I'm like, well, I couldn't afford to buy that bike. Like, yeah, fuck, I'm gonna buy a couple tickets. Yeah, you know, I can survive if I lose $200.
Yeah,
you know, but I don't know. There's definitely been a couple times I've had some money in the bank and I've been like, I'm gonna try to fucking play the odds like some of these other guys have done. I'm like, ooh, but man, that would hurt.
It's just not in my nature. I'm glad a lot of people I know like to gamble though.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that is a way to get rid of that CVO.
I got to talk to Rennie and see if he gives me some pointers, but I don't know. The main thing I hated this, but you know, I don't repost people's raffles. I get hit up all the time to repost people's raffles. Yeah. Since the day Raffles started. Hey man, can you repost this on your page? I'm like, why the fuck would I don't even know you, dude. Why would I post that on my page? But even like when my friends do it, it's like, man, if I do it for you, then everybody's gonna ask me to do it. And now I look like an asshole if I don't. Sure. So now I can just be like a known asshole for not doing it. So but it's like it's not because I don't like it or I don't want to do it, like help them out. It's just I don't want to.
Oh no, I know.
Open up the floodgates of everybody.
That's exactly what you do.
So
you open up the floodgates.
With the Trade just raffled off that chopper. I'm like, fuck, dude, I want to help you, but man, you know, and Trade's a close friend. Yeah. So it's just one of those spots, man. I'd rather talk about it on the podcast and tell people to get it that way versus like posting it on Instagram. Yeah. You know. Yeah, I was like 2 tokens away from that one. That was a crazy one, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. He saw it, like, Doc won it, and he was like, had to talk Doc out of it because it's his roommate.
And I understand. Yeah. And I understand. And I'm sure Trey got some people that talk shit about it. But I also, man, if I was Doc, I would be like, man, I don't know.
I played it for a reason.
Sure.
You know, I put $100 in because I wanted to win it, and then I did.
Me and Justin Kelly were talking about it a little bit.
So Trey did it right before Bike Night last week. Yeah. And so he was telling me, he's like, I'm never doing a raffle again. That was the most awkward thing I've ever done.
And I could see, dude, you have to put yourself in everyone's shoes, right? Yeah. And I could see if I was in Trey's shoes, like, wow, that looks fishy. Yeah. Fucking bike's in my garage. My roommate just won it. Yeah, it looks fishy. I can see that. But me and Justin Kelly were talking about it the other day, and he said, dude, that's the equivalent of, we all saw it, and he fair and square. How would any of it be fishy? Of course, there would be some hater out there that would talk shit and say it was. Yeah. But Justin said, that's like, let's say my roommate ran a casino. Does that mean I can't go there to gamble? Yeah. Fuck no, I can. Yeah, of course I can. And that's a valid point. Like, but I also understand why Trey did what he did.
Well, most of the people that played were his friends anyways. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If it wasn't him, it might have been one of the other homies, you know? Yeah. But Trey and Doc talked and everything. It was all good. There's no animosity towards it. It's just, it was an awkward situation. You know?
And I understand why. Yeah. But that's one of those things. I don't know. As long as you do your shit correct. How did he do the
raffle? Did he do it like was there like a computer generated?
No, it was chips in a bucket.
Fuck, you can't. Yeah. I mean, how do you go against that? You know what I mean?
I had a buddy of mine that is a tattoo artist in Oklahoma. He wanted that fucker real bad. And I think he had 4 or 5 tickets in there. He was trying to win it for his wife. And he was number 3.
Oh, shit.
Number 2 was the one that got pulled. It was Doc's. And I instantly messaged him like, God damn, you were close. He's like, I don't even want to talk about it. You know, and that to me, I still watch all the raffles. Yeah. And even the ones that I'm not in, they do generate some kind of energy. Yeah. And I get excited about them, even if I'm not in it. Like, I want to see who won it, and it's fun to like see when your homies win it. And then when your homies win it, man, then you start fucking playing that mind game with yourself of like, well, if he can, so can I.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play some more.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, the concept makes sense. Like, I mean, everybody's got $100, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you have a Harley Davidson, you have $100.
yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And same thing. It's like I probably wouldn't mind throwing $100 at things here and there, but my problem is I'm like, what if I just throw 500 in and get better my odds?
Right.
Well, then it's $500 here, $500 there. And next thing you know, I'm playing scratch offs and shit and fucking, whatever. It's like, it's just not my nature to gamble.
I've never been a scratch off guy, and I sold the bike recently to a guy in New Braunfels that won $6 million on a scratch off.
Yeah. More
He
power
came to
him.
my house in the middle of the day, and he was fucking hammered. He's like, "Yep, I won the lottery," and he told me his whole story. It was an interesting story, and he continued working. He's a cabinet maker, continued working, and I was like, "Wow, on a fucking scratch off, $6 million." Like,
Yeah.
and I think he said after taxes he got like, I want to say 4.
Yeah, like
He got enough that he'll be okay for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And he was smart about it and invested it and doing smart shit with it. He ain't out fucking Corvettes and cocaine,
Yeah.
But I've never been a scratch off guy, and like hearing his story, it make your fucking brain be like, well, maybe I need to fuck with some scratch offs.
Yeah.
And he said he only fucks with the scratch off he fucked with was like a $40 one. I was like, I didn't even know that existed.
Those are the better odds.
Yeah, and that's what he said. That's the only thing he does. Is he only messes with the high dollar ones.
I had an ex that I remember we went to a gas station and we bought tickets. I bought a $50 one. She bought a $50 one. She won $400 right off of it. Turned around, bought another one, won another like $200-$300 off of it.
That's my dad. My dad would do that, dude. My dad's won so much shit.
Yeah.
The year he got rid of his shovel head on the football pot, the very next Super Bowl, he won the baddest fucking rigid frame shovel head in a football pot. I was like, what the fuck? That's awesome. Some people have that luck. I don't have that luck.
Yeah, it's not in me for sure. I'm the guy that like will wreck it on the way to deliver it.
We have a guy in my day job, and he's one of those guys that like when he comes to work, he's bitching already. And somebody told him the other day, "You're the only person I know that could probably win the lottery and complain about how they deposited it into your account."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's well said." He is. He complains about everything.
I'm a complainer, and that's one of the things about myself that I've always known. I've always tried to kind of combat.
I've heard you say that a bunch of times.
It's like I think that we all probably have like little things about us or bigger things about us that we it's just inherently part of our personality that we wish wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
But I'm a complainer. I complain about a lot of shit, but I try to be aware of it and stop whenever I notice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like my dad. Like when I was growing up, I noticed a lot of things in my dad that as I became older, I felt were not great qualities. And then when I recognize myself like inheriting any of those kind of qualities, I try to like catch it.
Yeah.
And so I've always been like more or less overthinker, but also very self-aware. And sometimes I'll be a certain way for a while, but then I'll catch it eventually, and I'm like, all right, chill out with that, So,
well, that's a good thing. I don't think I'm more self-aware these days than when I was in when I quit drinking is when I started like, I guess, looking at myself of like trying to mold myself to be a better person. But before, like, I didn't ever notice what the fuck I was doing. I was just
like the concept of, obviously, like if you always have drama surrounding you, some of that inherently has to be because of you.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. I believe that.
Instead of like, it's just always like if you're pointing fingers everywhere, then realistically, you always got to consider like the odds, right? The odds are I'm part of all these shitty situations. So what did I possibly do to make it happen this way?
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean that everybody that's ever slighted you isn't like wrong on their own part. But at the same time, to just not take it as face value and just assume that everybody else is trying to fuck you over all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe you're actually bringing some of this upon yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so for years, I've always, tried to, and now so more than ever, right? Because just trying to be more aware of like, okay, well, how maybe I did something to kind of like put this down this path at some point, right? And just want to be aware of it. That way I can fix it. You know what I mean? Obviously, I want to be the best possible me I could be. I don't want to be the guy that just like, this is who I am, like fuck off or, accept me or leave kind of thing.
That ain't no way to be.
Yeah, it's like I want to, be a better version of me than I was the year before. And you just try to like, you also like, it's hard when you have a podcast, man. Like you're constantly talking, you're constantly putting out ideas, even if they're not fully formed opinions or fully thought out.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, you're saying things because you have to fill the airways with thoughts and ideas. And sometimes like, dude, you just like, I don't really think like that at all. I don't know why the hell I said it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the mind space of the conversation, you might have,
Yeah, the good side, though, there's always pluses and minuses to everything. But I feel like in the years that I've known you and the years that I've watched this platform grow, I've got to listen to you. I've got to listen to numerous other people come on here and talk about, like, areas of life that they're going to grow in. And not just talk about it, but we've got to witness it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that holds its own value. I've heard you put plenty of things out in the fucking airwaves, but I've also got to watch you do what you said you were going to do. And that's probably a positive thing, because once you put it out there, now you're okay. Now I got to.
Yeah, you don't.
Otherwise, I'm gonna look like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
I had been talking about getting my LLC for fucking 2 years.
Yeah.
And I purposely said it on the air with LFG. I was like, and when I walked out from there and went to my hotel room, I called my girlfriend, and I had 2 friends reach out to me because I didn't think about now I done put it out in on the air. I didn't think about people like taking an Instagram name. My buddy Brandon from New Braunfels, hey, I secured that name for you. So when you're ready, let me know, and I'll exit out of it and you can have it. And I was like, well, why did you do that? It was like, because people will take that shit and then try to sell it to you. And I didn't think about any of that. But when I left there, I was like, okay, now I put it on the air. I got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like I need to do it. And I'd been needing to do it for way too long.
Yeah.
It was, I guess I was trying to like be under the radar and like buy and sell. And,
well,
you can only go so far like that.
The business side of things kind of drains the fun out of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's exciting to start a business, but once you're kind of like, especially if you've been doing it more under the radar before, the business side of things will make it like not feel as lucrative and not as fun. You know what I mean? So trust me, I wish I had a fucking badass job and I can come home and paint a helmet once a month.
Yeah.
Be fucking set.
Yeah.
Get to really just hone in on the art, not really care about all the other parameters in life as to why I need to do 4 of these a month to make it. You know what I mean? But yeah, the business side of things is definitely one of those areas where it could kind of drain you of the enthusiasm.
No, I can see that, and I've heard you say that before. Justin Kelly's become somebody that I talk to often, and I get to hear his version of. Yeah. He's got days where he's like, fuck, man, I want to fucking kick all these motorcycles out of here and tell everybody fuck off. Yeah. And, and he can't, because that's what he does now. And he's got a family to feed and bills to pay.
Yeah, Justin Kelly, we were talking, he was at Bike Night 2 weeks ago. We were talking about some of the things that he's trying to do. And I've liked, we've talked a lot over the years and watching his flow of his shop kind of go and follow where he's going and whatnot. I've never really understood, until this past year, like the passion for like fabrication and creating things like that. So now it's like, now that I've kind of dipped my toe in that water, I'm like, man, like I've been telling him to, just focus on the things that are paying that he can make money on. And now I'm like, man, fuck those things, dude. Go crank open those machines that have been collecting dust over there and make some shit, But of course, it's like every piece of advice, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because every piece of advice I give to somebody is through my shoes if that subject matter was something I was dealing with in the parameters of my life. Sure. Right? And that's also the way like a lot of people look at you or me or anybody is judging based on like their own life, looking at you. Oh man, I wouldn't do this, for that much or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like all the decisions you make as to why you buy this or don't buy it or why you put it out for this or everything, every little nuanced decision that you make is based on the things that you know about the world that you're in. That's not my world. How the fuck would I know what you should or shouldn't be doing in it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just weird how we've gotten a glimpse into so many different people's worlds and lives, and we've all just naturally formed opinions about them based on ignorance.
Yeah,
myself included.
That's a true statement. Yeah. Very true statement. It's easy to look at a lot of people's businesses and form your own opinion on how successful you think they are or not.
The one thing that's kind of been I guess it's out of like positivity, but I take it as like I don't know so much if it's positive, but dude's like, man, you should just stick to painting. I'm like, so everything else I do sucks? Is that what you're saying? Like, so I fuck this podcast, fuck everything else that I'm passionate about. Like, I should just do the one thing that's ruining my health and I'm having a hard time keeping ahead of because the economy's going to shit. Like,
dude, that's how I felt about welding for years. If you stand over and inhale welding smoke for 10, 12 hours a day, every single day, like I welded in a fabrication shop where that's all I did. Mm-hmm. These guys would build it, I would weld it.
Yeah.
All day. Like at some point you can't help but sit underneath that welding hood and think to yourself, like, what's the quality of life going to be if I sit here and do this for 30 years?
Yeah.
And I was at that point when I was thinking about trying to do my motorcycle shit full time because I wanted out of it that bad.
Yeah.
But, I put that word out there enough times and at some point the fucking universe brought to me another position in that trade and I was able to stay. And so that's why now, like, I am staying. Now I'm going to try to fucking hone in this other craft that's been given. I've been given an opportunity to learn this other craft within my trade and to wrap my head around some computer shit because I've always been a hands-on guy. I don't know computer stuff, and now I'm forced to learn it, and I've been grateful for that. But yeah, it's that for anybody to come at you and say that, no, you should fucking pursue these things you're wanting to pursue.
Yeah,
and I think it's been fun watching. I remember when you were like, I'm going to start getting a little more into photography, and you did.
Yeah.
And we've all got to watch you hone that craft. And now this year you're putting out like, I'm going to start trying to teach myself some fabrication shit. And it's been fun watching that. Like, and it's going to be fun to see what you do with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want you to fucking paint for the rest of your life. Yeah. I don't want anybody to have to work that way for the rest of their lives. At some point, we all need to get to a point where we can make a living and not kill ourselves.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is, man. It's just, this stuff is, paint's been like rewarding, man. It really has. Like, I don't hate it. I'm more grateful for the opportunities and for the path that it took me on in life, because everything that I do now, everything that I'm interested in, paint was the slip and slide that took me to those things, right?
Sure.
And so I even the paint industry, we did that podcast with Taylor Schultz, which I think it hasn't got the listens that I feel like it should, but it's one of those podcasts that I hope the paint industry hears, because I think what he's got going on is going to turn it upside down. And it might, once he does that, a lot of the things that he's doing are the things in 2019 I was bitching about while I was at SEMA. I was complaining about at SEMA while I was with, House of Color and stuff there. I was like, look, we could do this differently. We can do this. We can do this. Because I'm more of a, like, I don't have a problem with authority. I have a problem with, like, things not working as well as they could.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I see a lot of areas in the industries that I'm a part of, and I get to know more and more of the workings, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to do all that. Like, And then you start to realize too, as you get older, how many people are using other people. Like, it's always this game of using. Every relationship is so transactional. There's very few people out there who honestly will throw you a bone because they just want to help you out.
Yeah.
They do exist. You've been that for me in a lot of ways. I got a, Zombie Mike yesterday. Crazy story. Haven't heard from him in a couple months. I think the last time I saw him was when we were at Cowboy for that deal.
Now that you say that, I haven't even thought about Zombie Mike in a minute. Yeah, he's a great guy.
So he's like, hey man, I want to introduce you to this chick. She runs this whiskey company. And I'm like, oh hell yeah. Had a long talk with her today. We might be doing some stuff together.
Good.
That dude threw me a bone just out of the fact that we're boys.
Good.
He didn't ask for no favor. Hey, can I get a helmet? I don't know what this will turn into, right? But that's kind of the thing. It's like, there's so few people out there like that I feel like unless it's transactional for them, they don't think about other people, right? I'm not going to help anybody else out unless I can leverage this for my benefit.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how a lot of companies are. Like the paint industry is like that. They'll tell you, hey, we're going to get you in SEMA and then you can paint for us for fucking 4 days and fly you home, and you don't get no discount on materials. You don't get materials. Like, you get nothing but this idea of exposure, right? That typically you already have more. If you're at a point where they're going to invite you, you're already established enough on social media to be a painter. You don't need the exposure from SEMA. It's not really going to help you, right?
Yeah.
And, there's just so many other facets of this industry right now, and like the whole brand ambassador stuff. Yeah, it's a whole nother can of words. I probably won't even get into that because it's complicated. But a lot of the way things work, it's starting to become inefficient. You know what I mean? And a lot of brands are still behind the curve of understanding what analytics are on like social platforms. They still think biggest numbers are the best opportunities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As opposed to like,
quality over quantity.
Yeah, nobody's thinking about quality.
They're thinking quantity over quality.
And when they align themselves or they attach themselves to someone that has a mass following, but they don't understand the substance of which that person has the following, you might be aligning yourself with someone that's more controversial, more polarizing in a bad way, more not really in the nature of what your brand's about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they might not have staying power. That's one thing that people don't think about a lot is like, think about how many brands since we've known each other have come and gone in our.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, these ambassadors, that there's a couple people I know that started off on Harleys and now they're not even doing anything with them.
Yeah.
And it's like
their whole reason to ride, like this has been the pitch for all these newer brands I've been talking to. I'm trying to learn how to create content on the thing that I love, which is the motorcycle lifestyle, right?
Sure.
I'm good at making content. What's something I can exploit? So it's like when you have these industries that are kind of like not heavy content related, and you've seen it happen in all the trades, right? From welding to, dude, even like plumbing and HVAC. There's like YouTube channels where like hot chicks are doing that shit.
Oh, absolutely. It's big business these days.
And I'm not saying that they're not good and they don't deserve it. I'm just saying that this is obviously this is a business plan that works.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so I asked myself, okay, well, were you into this your whole life and then you decided to learn how to create content to show from a perspective of someone really in this? Or are you just good with the camera and then you found something that's like got a very low threshold of, like I don't have to do much to get big in this world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird. What's more important? A substance learning how to create, or no substance that knows how to create, trying to learn what the substance is. You know?
No, it's a valid point. It's the women thing that is big business these days, and some of them are very passionate about trades. Yeah. I've had some women come through the welding class I used to teach, and unfortunately, they were easier to teach than any fucking man that's ever came through my class.
Well, that's the common thing about women. They're more detail oriented.
Yeah, they got more patience.
Exactly. And patience in any trade, I think, is one of the key virtues of quality work.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know why. I've learned that when I was teaching that class. It was like, And also probably because they know that they're in a man's industry and they're gonna have to perform to get accepted.
Yeah.
You know, especially in a fucking pipe fitting world, like that's big, heavy work with a bunch of fucking big dudes in there doing it. You know, welders, like big time pipe welders, come with that fucking big time pipe ego.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The women that have come through my class though, man, they would just sit there and absorb every goddamn thing I'd say.
Yeah.
But there also is, you know, that's also happening too though in the trades where they're out there using their camera skills and their fucking tits.
Yeah.
To, you know, get what they know they can get. And
yeah, and that's quite it's why it's such a slippery slope to be able to even talk about it, because it's not that, like, I get it, man. If we had them, we'd probably be on them too, right? But if they're doing stuff that is like, if they're doing great work, then regardless of the gender, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
She's coming.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, babe.
Thanks. It's good seeing you.
So I mean, you know, it's just like, you know, Ray Ripple's in here the other day, and we were talking about this, you know, and she's obviously made a big wave in just the welding world, right?
Dude, and she hustles, though. She
does.
fucking puts...
But she's also
puts
bringing
the work in.
She's also doing something that hasn't, like, she's more in the art side of welding, which is definitely not as big of the industry as, like, you know, the different, like, pipe fittings, all the other things people weld, right? But it still it messes with a lot of egos of other welders, right? Yeah. Like, she had some great analogies, and I'll leave that for her to people to listen to if they haven't listened to it yet. But I completely understand. I mean, there's a lot of women in the paint game, right? And some of them are really badass. Some of them need to have bigger followings than they have skills, right? Sure. And sometimes that's the only thing that sucks about, like, the social side of things and the women's side of it, is it, if they grow too fast, then they might not be able to handle the repercussions of, like, all the drama that'll come from the lack of their skill. Yeah. Because our society still associates a high following with a high skill. They must be really good at what they do because they have so many followers, right? Well, if you're not good at what you do, but you exploited yourself in other ways to gain those followers, then next thing you know, like, you start putting out the work that you're capable of, and it's shit. Yeah. And we all know who we're talking about. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And I'm not saying that as hate for. I'm saying that as, like, a trade is something that you get into because you love it, and then you go into it as a student, and you go down like, some people grow fast, some people take years, some people take months, but it's always growing, right? And, you know, there's reasons why it takes long to grow, because the things that you learn along the way is how to deal with it. You learn how to deal with customers. You learn how to deal with, you know, your schedule, demands. Like, there's so many other things outside of the actual job that you have to learn, and that's what time teaches you. Yeah. And if you've been doing it for 3 months or 3 years, 3 years isn't that long in a trade. No, it's not. You know, you're still probably an apprentice in most ways. No, yeah, I've been in my trade going on 14 or 15 years, and I still feel like I'm fucking learning every day. Yeah, probably have to cut all this shit out, but just in general, it's like, if I could say anything, I think that I'm glad that we have the women that are in this industry. Oh, absolutely. You know, and like I said, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not like, you know. No, absolutely not. And I don't mean that in a bad way either. I got to fucking watch what I say. I'm, like, trying to get the women vote right now. So, no. Dude, I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of women that put that fucking work in, and I will always give credit where credit's due. Yeah. And there's plenty of women that put that work in, and there's some that don't, you know. But that also falls on men too. Men don't. But it's like, I don't really care either way. That's why I stay out of all this stuff. Yeah. Like, you know, somebody's growing big time on social media, cool. Yeah. You know, I hate to see when they fall. I hope they never fall. That's the truth. Sure. But if they do, it's kind of like, well, you know, I can't help but have an opinion about that.
Yeah.
You know, well, I probably would have done this, and this. And that's where also having mentors is important, man.
Yeah.
You know, like being around people or having someone older, more experienced in this is not a bad, especially in the trades. Like having somebody that knows more, has more seat time to just kind of, anytime you get into a little, you know, pickle or a hiccup, like what would you do? Just to have some wiser advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that could be like job placement. Like, man, should I take this job? You know, like I can't tell you how much like I enjoy knowing that I have some people in my life that are more skilled and older and wiser than me that I can kind of bounce ideas off of.
Dude, I don't know that I would be where I'm at in life if I didn't have the people that are around me. Like,
Yeah.
for anybody to ever think that like they got to the top by themselves,
Yeah.
like that, I'm not ever trying to get to the top of anything. I'm just trying to exist and do the best that I can while I'm here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like, I lean on my fucking people all the time, and they lean on me. And that, to me, is what, that makes this life so enjoyable. You know, I got countless people I reach out to.
Yeah.
Whether it be in the motorcycle side of what I do, if something breaks at my house,
Yeah.
I got a friend in every trade that I can fucking get help from. And then when they need me for the things that I'm good at, they reach out to me. And I wouldn't know where the fuck I would be without my people.
Yeah.
You know, and my friends, I got fucking friends all over the country, man. And that, I don't know. It'd be a weird, lonely world if you really thought that you were truly self-made. Like, that term self-made to me is so dumb. Dude, people helped you get there. And, and
no matter how you look at it.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, because sometimes it's like what Zombie Mike did for me. Whatever that turns into,
Dude.
I don't know. But that little bump right there out of nowhere, that in turn is an opportunity.
Yes.
That I can then, now the ball's in my court to figure out whether or not I'm going to, you know, what I'm going to do with it versus, you know, and I think that's one of the, you know, I've always tried to be that for people, right? Because obviously doing this podcast, meeting people, having a big network, it's like you can put two and two together. Oh man, I got a buddy that's good at this. He could probably help you out. Or, you know, who would be great in this opportunity that, you know, this brand is wanting, you know, oh, let me get my guys to also get vendor spaces.
Yeah.
You know, all these kind of things are just inherently like, you know, if you have the opportunity to help other people, you just do it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, the concept of this podcast is literally about, you know, hey man,
It
what do you
very
do?
much is, and it's an honor and a blessing to even be here speaking and getting to say anything about what I do.
Yeah.
I'm a low man in this pond that we're swimming in.
You've been an important factor in not only like in the scene that we're a part of for at least my involvement being in it. Your name has come up all the time. It's always been positive. It's always been like, man, Cheeks helped me out. From Joe Kidd to me to fucking my machinist, everybody.
Dude,
no one's ever said anything bad about you because you've always been just salt of the earth, taking care of people.
And I do what I can to help people as much as I can.
Yeah.
But every one of y'all do the same thing back to me. And that's how friendships should be to me. Mm-hmm. To me, if I'm fucking big on communication, man. I feel like in today's society, I feel like communication's gotten really weird.
I don't think we're used to, like, social media feels weird, so I don't think we communicate on there like we used to.
Yeah, like I don't know why it bugs me to no fucking end when people, it's become a thing with some of the younger generation that, and this happens to me numerous times, that no reply means no. Like, just tell me no. I don't need to hear a fucking an explanation. I just need to hear yes or no.
Yeah.
Like, especially if we're doing some kind of dealings together.
Yeah.
I just need some communication. And I feel like I over communicate shit. Like, on the way here, hey, I'm 5 hours out. Hey, I'm 20 minutes out.
Yeah.
You got things you're doing in your life, and so am I. And people need to be able to fucking plan around that. Communication, I over communicate, but it fucking works for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like communication's gotten really fucking weird. I don't know. It's a fucking pet peeve of mine, dude, and I
Yeah.
fucking hate it. But all I do is communicate to people. I give credit where credit's fucking due. Mm-hmm. And when I am in the position that I can help somebody, I do. And I feel like if everybody would do that, it'd be a better pond we're all swimming in, because you never know when you're going to be on the other end of that. You never know when you're going to be on the side of the fucking road broke down. And a motorcycle breakdown is just an example.
Well, prime example is this, and I was saying this to a friend the other day. I've been in the motorcycle industry, like the business side of motorcycles for 20 years last month, right? And the bridges that people think are everywhere, like there's a bunch of bridges to get in and off this island.
Oh yeah, dude.
There's not that many. And the crazy thing is, like, when people get into this industry, they start burning bridges, and those bridges, they don't understand, it's a very like mafia type industry. Not mafia like bad, mafia like where everybody's close. Even though you might think PM and this brand aren't close, there's lots of communication amongst everything. And how you start and end relationships with anybody carries throughout the industry. So, bridges that you might not think are very big that you burn could be the bridge you needed later on in your career.
Absolutely.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And people just don't, they a lot of times they don't have the foresight to see that far ahead to realize that, hey, this person might just be the sales guy or the marketing guy at this brand now. But, as I've seen, a lot of these guys will go from marketing of this brand. Next thing you know, he's running the sales department here. Next thing you know, this brand's giving him ownership because he's doing so good. Exactly. So don't burn bridges, man. Like it's absolutely such an important thing to like, see things out to where, like, if you are having an issue with somebody, just fucking, see it out. Like, talk.
I had somebody tell me, this was a few months back, but we were bullshitting back, and it wasn't even somebody that I know, but somebody trying to buy a bike from me. And he made this comment of like, because he saw on Facebook Market, because you can go and look and see what else I'm selling.
Yeah.
Well, he made this comment of like, people like you are what's messing the motorcycle scene up, because you're buying these bikes and you're trying to profit off people. And I was like, bud, you don't know me for 1 second, and you don't have any clue how many times I've helped people in the motorcycle scene.
Yeah.
And part of what I do, the biggest part of what I enjoy about what I do, of course, I went out and I did the work, and I found the shit, and I hunted it, and I drug it fucking home, and I need to make some kind of profit. But the biggest enjoyment out of what I do is when I put the right seat in the right person's hands. And that happens so much to me.
Yeah.
2 years ago, so I stumbled on this fucking bitchin' old Yamaha flat track bike. Been sitting in this dude's place, not doing shit. I bought that and a Suzuki drag bike from him. And the young man that I sold that flat track bike to fucking loves this thing. And it was nothing that I was ever going to do nothing. I'm not a flat track racer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dug it out. I drug it from fucking Lake Hills, Texas to, San Antonio area. I did all the work. I sold it to him. I made a little bit of money. But now I get to watch this young man every year at the Fandango, and I've seen him at 2 other events, flat track racing this thing. This bike hadn't ran in years. And when I sold it to him, I got in my van after I dropped it off. By time I got back, because I was living in Leander at the time, by time I got back to Leander, an hour and a half from where I was, he sent me a video of him already cleaned the carburetor up, put air in the tires, and was riding it up and down the street.
Nice.
And that part is so fun for me. The Ferguson family, I told you that I just helped sell a bunch of shit. When Johnny Ferguson passed away, Johnny Ferguson had a huge collection, still does. And some of these bikes were panheads that he restored and didn't have them exactly like stored in climate control, so they had like some surface rust and shit.
Yeah.
Some of them Brooks Blanton bought. Weeks later, we get to see these bikes running again. Whereas he got to an age where he wasn't fucking with none of that no more. He He was old, and he didn't have enough life left to be able to restore all these projects. Mm-hmm. So I got to facilitate putting these things in the hands of the right people. I don't have time to restore them all.
Yeah. Well, on that same notion, like that's a little snarky thing that goes on. I see it in forums here and there, which I read a lot of shit to stay up on what's going on, just so I'm a part of a lot of them. And I don't post. I'm a creeper in it, if you will. But a lot of people say that they think that people should not make money off of buying and selling parts.
Heard it numerous times.
Are they Russian spies? I mean,
right.
How do you think this works? Like, how do you think anything works? You think, like, because this is your hobby, that the rest of the world's supposed to be a hobby for them too? And that's...
Yeah. They're the same person that probably bitches about a man making money on a raffle. They're the same person that probably bitches about a man making money on a motorcycle event. And I hate that.
I'll listen to anybody's argument for it, and it better be a good one, because... Yeah. Any way you could say, like, it's different between, you gotta be able to decipher between the two things, right? Hey, I'm building my bike. Hey, does anybody have a set of louvered side covers for my FXR? And you decide, hey, man, I got these set, and then this bike is mine, the one I'm not selling. If you want to give me that because you know that's going on my bike and I'm not selling it, that's different.
Yeah.
Right? That's like, hey, man, I want to help you out. Like, I had a lot of friends reach out. I got a fairing for my buddy Bruce. I got some other parts from this guy. So that's cool. But if I was just building that to sell it, I'm making money off selling that bike. Why can't you make money on selling me the part that I need to sell the bike?
Sure. And if somebody does gift it to you and down the road you do decide to sell it, then that's your prerogative also, though, because they gave it to you. That sentimental attachment needs to go away with it.
Yeah.
People get too caught up with the...
Well, I think it's in context too. Like if someone gave, like, my wife bought me my first Simpson helmet, I would never give that away.
Sure.
Even if I didn't paint it.
Right. That is something that can sit on the shelf.
Also, I have, I got lots of things that were, I have lots of stuff that was given to me. That
I have a lot of things that will never be for sale too.
Yeah.
And every person that has a parts stash, like, I've got my own personal parts stash of shit that ain't for sale. That is my stuff. I've got fucking motorcycle art. I've got so much of it that I haven't even hung it all up. And none of that shit's ever for sale.
Yeah. So
when I'm heading home on Sunday, I'm stopping in Waco at a friend of mine, James Bishop's, and dude, it's a buyer and a seller.
Yeah.
And I am buying a big lot of Easy Rider magazines, and I've already got a shit ton of them. And he's like, well, you can sell them for this. I'm like, those aren't for sale.
Oh man, you should have told me about them.
No, they're not for sale.
If you find some dice or show class, that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to fulfill that
things like that. I don't sell. Like, those are for my personal.
Well,
I
help
love
your
that
boy
shit.
out, man.
Dude, I have a bunch of vintage Easy Riders, and I'm picking up probably 200 of them on Sunday.
I got the entire 90s. I got the first half of 2000, and I'm working on 80s. I just had a guy from Australia send me a bunch from the 70s.
Yeah, I got a bunch of 70s.
Dude,
they're dope.
Man, I tell you what, I have so much, like, good shit to read. When I started showing people the wall down there, people started sending me like posters and shit.
Yes.
And so what I did was the extra ones that I got, like, I had duplicates. Then I put a pile together because Tattoo West was like, hey, man, let me know if you have any extra. I'll buy it from you. So I was like, nah, dude, like, these were given to me.
Yeah.
The extra ones I have, I'll give them to you. That way
I do the same thing, dude. If something's given to me, and it's gonna benefit somebody else, and here, it was given to me, it's given to you.
Yeah.
Dude, on what I was talking about a minute ago, one of the I sold a motor out of the Ferguson family's pile of stuff, right? And it was old Ironhead Sportster. Ironhead Sportsters don't really do it for me.
Yeah.
But this young man in San Antonio bought that fucking motor. I made a little bit of money. And just the other day, I got to get a video of him fucking sending me, man, check it out, bike's together, and it's running. And he's just fucking pumped.
Yeah.
Like, that shit, man, that shit drives me. Like, 9 times out of 10, when I sell a bike to somebody, somehow or another, we keep in touch, and I get to see them enjoying that bike.
Yeah.
I can't keep them all. That part is the funnest part to me. Do I need to make $1? Yes.
We all do.
I can't buy it for fucking cool guy points so that I got 10 bikes in my garage to be fucking the guy with 10 bikes in his garage. No, I gotta make fucking money on it.
It just blows my mind that some people don't understand the way that like the world works, you know, because they got to experience one way of motorcycling, which does exist. I mean, there's lots of those things like, you know, Matt, I've given a lot of little parts to Matt, and Matt's helped me out here a lot. So I owe him more. I mean, we just help each other out.
Yeah,
it is what it is. But that's what they're talking about. They don't understand that, like, if you're friends with somebody and they got some parts, they might sell it to you or they might fucking give it to you. It depends on the subject matter that, you know, could be what's going on at home. Maybe I need some money and you want this from me. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when you know, like your business, if you choose to do motorcycling for a business, like everything is a job, you know? And I guarantee you that dude's got on clothes that are sold to him by a brand that's, you know, in the motorcycle game. I guarantee you they got tons of parts on their bikes that they bought from, you know, somebody that was selling some motorcycle parts. You expect them to give it to you? Like, how do you think this world works, man?
Right, exactly.
Oh, I'm just supposed to do this because I love motorcycles? Like, no, dude, I love motorcycles, so I do this for a living so that I can stay connected and touching these things.
I hate when I hear the conversations of people complaining about, I heard it real heavy this last year with Born Free Texas. You know, I heard it a lot from some of the people that I'm friends with in San Antonio, like in the chopper community in San Antonio, like, oh, they're fucking jacked up the prices. I'm like,
they don't understand why, though.
And at the end of the day, if you fucking think that any one of those events should not make any money, like you put all that shit together and you do all that work and then tell me that you're going to do it year and year again for free.
Yeah.
No, I want them all to make money. I want your event. I want Born Free. I want the swap meets. I want them all to make money because then we all make money.
Yeah. You should think about the motorcycle as its own little economy, and you want it to be good for it. You know, it's like, I used to say this a long time ago on the podcast. I haven't said it a lot lately, but I'll say it again.
I want this podcast to make money.
Me too.
So that's how the platforms stay alive.
If you know a motorcyclist that runs a mechanic shop that works on cars, go fucking support his shop. Hopefully he does good work, but you know, if he doesn't, that's another situation. But if you got a guy that's a biker that has a dry cleaners and it's in your town, go support that guy. Go support the biker-owned, ran businesses, and our whole economy, our whole industry goes up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we just, you know, I think that in general, like we've all gotten used to just like so much like what benefits us so much as opposed to what benefits the greater good of everything.
Yeah.
And then the generations underneath us are seeing that we don't really give a fuck about anything but ourselves. So they're obviously going to be doing the same thing, right? Teaching people it's okay to make money doing and selling your services or things that you've done the work to find. Yeah. You know, FXR Mike said it best on this podcast years ago. It's like, I think he might have been talking about Brooks because he was getting some hate online for, you know, digging up FXRs and selling them.
Yeah.
It's like the same way that if you go to downtown Waxahachie or downtown anywhere, you know, small town stuff, you see antique shops and vintage. Like, I was in the Northwest. There was a vintage shop on every corner. There's like Starbucks up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like these people go and find these things that other people want, but they don't quite have the time to go find them, right? The finding, the time, the dive in, the going to knock on the door to see what's in this old man's backyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
The plug.
Fixing the titles.
Exactly. All these things are the things as to why, like, now that thing is now existing in the motorcycle world again. Yeah. When they find a survivor or they find, you know, these things that come out of nowhere, it's like because people are looking for them. And now that they found them with the intention of selling it because they're putting in their time, you know, like, dude, fucking calm down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I search the market every day.
Yeah.
Numerous times a day. And that's another one of the fun things for me. It is fun for me to go to these garages and these properties and get to see this, you know, and then you also get to, the other fun thing is I get to have a conversation and kind of get involved in a person's life that's selling a bike. I get to hear their fucking life stories. Mm-hmm. And I love that shit, man. Like that, all that combined, it's, I don't know, man. I can't get enough of that shit. Yeah. I love to go to some dude's garage that's had this fucking bike, and I get to hear some story about how he's fucking traveled all the 86 FXR I have right now. Mm-hmm. I bought that. He was the second owner of that bike. He bought it in 1988. And his stories of him and his fucking wife, he had the funniest fucking seat story I ever seen in my life. He had, when I walked up on the bike, I recognized that it had a FXRT rear seat. You know, the big fluffy one with the backrest, tall backrest. But it wasn't a T. And he's like, yeah, that was, and you know, the old men always have the best stories ever. And he was like, yeah, that was my wife. You know, she was complaining about the seat on that bike. And still today, I have the sissy bar and the factory seat that came on that bike. His wife was complaining about the backrest. Yeah. Because the backrest was small. So he went home and took the factory rear seat, bolted it to the sissy bar, and took the pad on the sissy bar and bolted it to the fender. And I was like, what? So the sissy bar's got this fucking pad that's this thick now. Yeah. And now she's sitting on something this big. He's like, well, so then she complained about the seat. I was like, well, no fucking shit she did. Yeah. And it was like the fucking funniest story. Like, I got to hear this dude, and here the parts are. I get to take him home. Yeah. And then at some point, a buddy of his was stripping down an FXRT, and he got to get the big seat where it had the big backrest and got her to get everything she wanted. But I got to fucking hear all his stories, all the shit he did on this bike. Yeah. And now I get to rehome it. I get to have it in my hands for a little while, and I get to rehome it and watch somebody else do something fucking cool with it. And man, that I don't give a shit what anybody says. If they want to bitch because I'm making $1 on it. I'm also doing a service. Yeah, and I know I can be a hypocrite in this thing, but I feel like so many people just need to like stay in their lane. They do. Like they absolutely their opinions do. About stuff that like they don't understand. Like we were saying earlier, they don't understand. They're looking at something through their shoes, and their shoes are in a place of ignorance of what they're talking about. Yeah. Right. And when I say ignorance, I'm not saying you're an ignorant person. I'm just saying you don't know. I know what you're saying. You know what I mean? That's what you mean. It's it just too many people are quick to just put out what they think, and it just like it shows that they don't really know too much about what's going on. You know, because that whole concept of how that works is that way. You know. Yeah. We live in a world too where they got a keyboard and they can talk shit. It's like the only other way that's going to happen is like somebody in their family when they pass away is going to get the estate, or some estate sale company's going to come in. They're going to like Google and check eBay for the prices of everything and do the same exact shit, but it's not going to be in the hands of someone that's not a motorcyclist. Right. Right. Yeah. So when bikers are going and finding these deals to kind of keep in the biker world, it's like they're doing a service to the entire good of motorcycling. Dude, you know? Yes. So now the money stays within bikers instead of going to some estate sale company that's like just running around looking for whatever to exploit. Yeah. You know? Yeah. My buddy Brandon had this fucking, I'm going to butcher it because it was like, he's like, you need to use this for your brand because my last name's Cheek. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he made a post on a story one day when I sold the bike, and it made someone happy who was now using this bike, right? And he was like, yeah, my buddy Robert Cheek putting the right cheeks in the right seats or some shit. I can't remember how it went, but it was a fucking perfect little, because I do, man. That's part of the joy of that shit is finding the right home for that machine. And it's not, my home's not the right home for all of them. I don't have enough lifetime to fucking do all that work on all those things. Yeah, yeah. You know, but it's fucking badass to like watch some, especially some, either a youngster or I recently sold a bike to a lady in Austin, a KLR 650, you know, dual sport bike. Mm-hmm. And she follows me on social media now, and I get to see all this travel she's doing on that bike. She's fucking killing it. Yeah. All over fucking United States on this bike. Like, fucking badass. Yeah, that's the point of it, right? Absolutely. That fucking makes my day, dude. Smiles for fucking miles. I made a little money, and she's out creating these experiences. Back to what you were saying about the events, you know, when the Born Free thing was happening here in Texas, there was a lot of people that were, you know, up in arms about like the price of tickets to get in. And I don't think that when me and Mike did the podcast that we really illuminated some of the real factors as to why the prices went up. It wasn't so much that like they saw an opportunity to just rape people. It was not that. No, not at all. It was a lot more of like adding the extra days, extra staff, the because of the
larger than expected numbers year before, then the security companies bid them higher to be a part of the things, right? So there was just a lot of factors, and they needed to staff up. And the problem is, the thing that drives me nuts about everything is when I hear anybody bitching about doing something that costs $100, and then I go hang out with them and they drop $200 or $300 on a bar tab.
Yeah. Or they go to the convenience store every single day.
Yeah. So it's like, you don't, and then secondly, like, I've said this forever, if you don't support the things that are rad in this scene, they go away. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't exist, and it's your fault.
Right.
Now, honestly, if it's like it's bad shit, then that's obviously why people don't go to it. But if you just are doing it because just out of spite, because maybe it's not the vibe that you think should be here or whatever, but lean into it, man. Like, that Born Free is a different Born Free than California. It's got a lot of what we are here as Texans. It's us.
Absolutely.
And the problem is that it's not going anywhere. So all the Texans that decide they don't want to support it, guess who is? All the other states in America that are coming to it because they want to have this fun experience.
I'll tell you, dude, I spent more money to go to Born Free this year, and I had twice as much fun.
Yeah.
I did. Dude, I had a fucking blast there this year. And I fucking made money. There was more people. Everything that you paid that more money for, they performed.
Yeah.
The music was better. There was more food. Like, why would you not pay more for that? Yeah. I'll pay more for that all day. I want the event to be better. I want the event to make money.
Yeah, but they also got to understand that, like,
I want it to not go anywhere.
What things, like, everything, we were talking about this when we first got here. Everything costs more, man. Everything.
It absolutely does.
Like, the whole world, like this inflation of all the money, it's now trickled into all these other little, like, cubby holes of scenes, to where, like, we can't do the same shit we used to do for the prices we used to do them.
Yeah.
It used to be $15 or $10 to get a campsite at some places. Now it's like $30.
Yeah.
These things are, like, out of everybody else's control, but, and I hate it too, but at the same time, it's like, man, if it costs people more money to put things on, and you just got an issue with people making money, like, that's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, because everything else in your life, you have no problem with them making money. You have no problem getting the newest iPhone every year. You have no problem buying every fucking Dixon flannel that drops on the day it drops. You have no problem in all these other aspects. But when people are trying to provide you something to make your life better experience-wise, it's not something you hold. Like, are you that materialistic to where you only are willing to pay for things that you can hold in your hand and not things you can experience and inspire you and give you something to do with your life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was at Born Free from Wednesday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, when we were packing my van up, me, my lady, her son, we were like, wow, like, we got to go home now. Like, dude, we had a blast.
Yeah.
We had so much fun this year. And I had fun there last year.
Same.
This year I had more fun. And it was a better event this year, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to get better next year.
Yep.
Like that, because that's the growth of things.
Yeah,
And
you experience it, and you try to fix the things that are, like, super, obvious. And then as you fix those, it starts to illuminate other little holes and cracks that need to be repaired or fixed or whatever.
Absolutely. No, it was hands down a fucking fun event.
Yeah.
I made more money at that swap meet than I've ever made at swap meet.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had the same, kind of weird thing where people never really say it publicly, but they tell a lot of people I know, and it gets back to me about, like, the year we were thinking about making it to where people had to pay to be a part of the camp out, but
dude, I've said it from the beginning.
We just decided.
I wish that you would.
I think
because I want the event to make money.
Yeah.
I want it to do good, and I want it to stay around.
Now it's really not going to make any money because we're not doing any T-shirts or any of that shit anymore. So it's like, it's just a camping event now.
Oh, man, I don't know. I've said since day one that as long as that event's around, I'll be there because it's a local event. It's great riding. I don't have to, like, take off of work, I love that event, and I want it to fucking make money. I don't know. I want them all to make money, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. It's work to put that shit together.
Yeah, yeah.
It is I'm trying to wrap my head around putting a swap meet together kind of in my area to bridge a gap between San Antonio and Austin, because there's a lot of good shit in Austin. There's a lot of good shit in San Antonio. There is a local swap meet that happens down in San Antonio, and it's put together by a guy that I've known since I was a child. He's an older guy, but he doesn't have any kind of, he's not involved social media-wise at all. So the advertisement is like word of mouth.
Yeah.
And it's very small, and it never grows. And I want to try to put one together to bridge that gap where maybe Austin will come and San Antonio will come and we'll get a good-sized swap meet. But I already know, dude, that organizing all that shit's fucking work.
Yeah.
It's a fucking pain in the ass. And you bet your ass I'm going to need to make $1.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it for free. Am I going to do it for the love of motorcycles and to bring people together? Absolutely. But I also need to make money because it's going to cost money to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine like trying to be an organizer for like a big, huge event like Born and Free. Like I was there Wednesday watching Grant and Vic run around with their fucking heads cut off.
Yeah.
And no, dude, pay for that.
Yeah.
It's fucking
pay for
work.
that stress. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll gladly pay for it.
Yeah. Well, that's everything, man. You know, even like Southern Throwdown, that when they used to do that here in Dallas, like Oliver and them would put that on. It was a free event.
Yeah.
They'd make it free somehow. And to me, it's like I want to, you know, I just want to like help make this scene grow in every kind of way and help.
You've done that.
And help like try to help. I think I was telling you I wanted to talk about a little bit about what the scene feels like or looks like or seems like, but it's almost like I'm out searching for new ideas, new things to bring back to the tribe because I feel like things are stale right now. And I feel like we just need a revitalization of some older ideas.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know if it's stale or, you know, because obviously like motorcycling for a lot of people is a hobby, right? And that hobby has its ups and downs of like excitement and enjoyment, right? And so you see that in certain waves, like people are just all stoked about everything going on, and then you see it kind of like, well, it hasn't evolved or grown or anything, and people just kind of lose interest, right? And right now, I don't know what that is, but it feels like something's in not a high, but definitely a middle to low, like something. It seems like a lot of. How do you say it? It's like, I don't know. I really
think
don't
I
know.
get what you're saying. Yeah. I can see how the scene's like that a little bit. My opinion on where the scene is right now, it's a part that I guess I have enjoyed seeing is there's a lot of people in the scene fucking traveling and on motorcycles, and that's been real badass to watch.
Yeah.
I do feel like I know what you're saying about, like, we were trying to discuss, like, what's going to be the next bike. I feel like there is a little lull in that right now. Like, everyone's just kind of got their bikes built out, and they're just kind of traveling. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to envision what's going to be the next trend. And being a person that's trying to buy and sell, you got to try to buy and sell within what's hot in the market.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to judge that right now. I can't judge it right now because I don't know what the scene's doing right now. And it is, so what I'm saying is I know what you're saying by it's like in a lull.
Yeah.
It's not exactly in a high. It's not exactly in a low, but there's a lull there. And
like I don't like I keep asking a lot of people like, hey man, what are you hyped about this year? You know, like what is it? What's going on this year that you're excited to do? Like what is the thing that's going to be your substance for motorcycling this year? And a lot of people are just like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, in the last 5 or 6 years, you know, I've been trying to do at least 1 or 2 trips every year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I'm going to do a trip this year because I don't know that it's in the budget for me exactly. I'm still paying on last year's trip. I fucking spent some money on last year's trip. And I did it all on my credit card, and I'm still paying on that. But I personally this year, I am gonna try to put some focus in putting a bike together and putting my shovel head together.
Well, you got your whole brand that you're kind of like branching off and making more of a business.
Sure, and I feel like it's important in order to I don't know. A brand can only go so far if you're just a fucking guy buying and selling bikes and parts. I need to put a bike in some people's faces.
Yeah, and do you, like, that's good and bad, though, right? It's good and bad based on the perspective in which what you actually want out of the brand. So, like, having an honest talk with yourself as to where you really want whatever said thing is to go, then make the steps towards it versus, like, you know, like, because sometimes having a bigger brand doesn't necessarily bring happiness, if you will.
No, and I'm not trying to build a brand for it to be a full-time business.
Okay,
I am just trying to make it a little more of a brand. It's not really a brand at all right now.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking business name and me doing my thing.
It'd be cool to see you build some bikes, though.
Dude, it's been some years.
Customize.
Sure, dude, I feel like when I put my bike together, I built that bike. I made that bike to what it is today.
Yeah.
I'm the one that facilitated, whether I used this dude to powder coat and this dude to paint and this guy to do this, I still facilitated it.
Yeah.
And that to me is all that anybody needs to do to say they built a bike. It's been some years since I put a bike together, and I want to showcase my shovel head. I for a long time looked for a birth year 1977 FLH, and I found one last year, and it's kind of been on the back burner because I had to move and all this other shit happened. But now I'm getting settled. I've got an empty lift. The shovel head's about to go on, and I'm about to mess with it. I was gonna fucking mess with my FXR next because I do have an FXR project I want to put together too. But I'm gonna do my shovel head first.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just gonna be a mild custom, some of my little taste, and a fun little in-town bike. You know.
No, that'd be rad.
Yeah, I think that's, and I do want to. I've been welding for probably 20 years now. 15 years or so in the pipe trades, but I've been welding on and off for about 20 years, but I've never done any TIG welding. And I want to teach myself this year to TIG weld. Cause I work with heavy metal. I never mess with sheet metal. And that's an art and a trade all in itself.
Yeah.
And I want to buy a TIG machine, and I want to learn how to be good with a TIG machine.
I'm hoping, realistic goals. I'm hoping that by the end of 2025 that I can proficiently do everything that Corey did on my FXR myself.
Sure.
That's kind of my plan. Obviously I have
and Corey says it all the time, dude. It's not, you're not reinventing the wheel, we make it harder than it is. And you absolutely can do that.
I have other projects ahead of that. That's not, it really just isn't going to give me the kind of time to sit down like I want. But after the summer, I think I'll really be able to just deep dive down it. And,
well, you're making the steps though. Like I see a new TIG machine and shit down there and some, fucking bandsaw and you're making the steps, and that's what you got to do. Yeah. You one step at a time. And at some point you're going to look back and be like, oh wow, I did that. And it's no secret that you do that. When you put in the world that you're going to fucking dive into photography, you did that. You've put in the world you're diving into trying to hone in some fab skills, you're going to do it.
Yeah, I just want to, I don't know. It's just, for me,
Matt,
it's always...
We've been watching Matt's fucking shit, I remember when Matt got out on his own. But now I get to see people repost what Matt's done for them. And that's, dude, it's been so fun to watch everybody grow on their own personal levels, whether it's business-wise or whether it's for their own personal growth. Yeah. And that's something where I feel like...
I think we should, we should probably do more this year. We should, every time we notice somebody doing something good, just be more vocal. Hell yeah, man. Happy for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
A lot more of that needs to be happening on social media, like publicly, not in a DM, because you don't want people to think you're soft.
Sure.
Post it on that person. Then that's fucking rad. I'm so stoked for you.
Yeah.
It was funny because I reached out to one of the guys that was in that Rome TV show that I've been talking with a lot, and I was like, man, it was so rad seeing you in it. I bet you've just gotten so many messages today, so just you don't have to respond to this, but man, I'm proud of you. I think that's I'm happy for you, right? And he messaged me back and said, man, like, you don't understand how many people only like to reach out to you when your dog died or your dad passed away. They want to they want to come and like, help. They want to care whenever it's like something bad in your life, but when it's something good, most people don't reach out and they don't say stuff. And, I'm like, yeah, I didn't really think about that. And so he's like, man, I really appreciate you doing that. I was like, fuck. I mean, I felt it. So I did it, I saw it and I was stoked. I was stoked about it. And yeah, I feel like, like I said, it goes back to that whole transactional, like, what is your relationship with a lot of the people around you? Do you generally want to see them doing well? If they are, then man, fucking,
Dude, I want to see everybody do well.
Yeah.
I'm super fucking stoked to see this fucking thing that Sachs is doing.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be badass.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the last 5 years, we've got to watch some pretty positive growth.
I mean, Sachs, dude.
Yeah.
Think about him. Like, I met him in my fucking mom's backyard, you know, around a campfire. He was talking about buying a Sportster. And I was like, oh, get out of here, nerd. And then, now look at, dude, I saw bits of it when I was up there in Salt Lake. I'm pretty excited, man. We're having a big watch party here Sunday. So
yeah, it's going to be dope, dude.
But seeing him grow and seeing everybody grow, it's like for like our current scene up here in Dallas, it's been, the bike night scene has been here for 7 years now.
Yeah.
I met a lot of guys 8 years ago at 2017 Giddy Up is when a lot of the current world of like Texas that I know came from.
You never hear a single person that went to Giddy Up that doesn't say that they wish that event didn't go away.
Yeah.
And that's where, I'm not trying to circle back to what we were already talking about, but that's where the people that are complaining about the money that events make, I don't want to be looking back and saying, man, I wish Born Free didn't go away. I wish the camp out didn't go away. Like, you got to support that shit.
Yeah.
And I know Giddy Up went away for its own drama, but it was still, I don't
special,
know.
Man.
Sure, it was.
There's,
I hated to fucking see just recently that Texas Hills had to get canceled.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that sucks.
Yeah.
I had fun at Texas Hills. I've had fun at any one that I went to. I've been to 3, and I had fun at every fucking one of them.
Yeah.
And I hated to see, when I saw it, I was floored. I don't want to see those events, especially our local Texas events.
Yeah.
Those are special. Mm-hmm. I had fun this last year at Texas Hills.
Yeah, I've not to toot my horn, but I've been to every one of them, and it's been kind of awesome seeing how Dustin and whoever he's working with that year, how they've kind of flown, like how they built it, what they built it around.
It's got its own vibe.
Yeah.
Like every event does. And
I'm glad to see Nitty Gritty's back too.
That one's growing.
That one's going to be big this year.
That one's going to be big. I'm going to be a vendor
I'm
there.
excited about that one.
They added a swap meet, and I'm going.
Yeah, and it's just down the street from here, so I'm stoked about that. But yeah, supporting more shit in Texas, man. Like just in general, like if you can do it, that I think one of the things that was said in the documentary, and Sachs used it in the promo video, is like, we are living in the good times right now, and that's what Corey from Main Drive said. Like, these are the good times. These are the good old days, and it's like, it's a perspective thing. If you decide not to go out and be a part of the things that exist out of some inconvenience that's trivial, like, oh, it's cold today, or it's raining, I'm not going to drive to bike night, or I don't know, the football games on this weekend, I don't really want to get out of the house. Like, all these things that, like, hey, it's your own choice and it's your own thing, but like, just understand that like everybody's participation is how things kind of evolve and go, and they work well,
Yeah.
And it's like one day you're gonna wish that event existed because you're gonna be in a space where you kind of need it or want it really bad. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
So I don't know. I've seen it happen a lot where just people take for granted like the things that exist, and then they go away, and then you're like, well, shit, now all we have left are the bars,
Yeah.
So at least now there's a lot of opportunities within Texas alone. Hell, in the Midwest alone, just the middle of the United States, there's lots of Oklahoma has a lot of events.
Dude,
the Oklahomies, they they got the, I think it's Club Style Oklahoma is what they call themselves, up there, that does a lot of, they got their bike night every week. Like, there's scenes popping up everywhere, and it's all stemmed off of the energy that we all share when we go to these events together.
Absolutely.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of good shit.
We don't really have a good bike night where I'm at.
Y'all got too many clubs down there.
Yeah.
I once Tommy came back, I started coming down there trying to see about doing a bike night, and it's just too club heavy.
Yeah,
you know,
it is, and you know, man, I got my own opinion about that too, though. I actually, I don't like to see bike events, and it's common these days, and I understand the reasoning, but I don't like to see whenever it says no club colors allowed.
Yeah.
To me, club guys are they're motorcycle people too.
Yeah, yeah.
And they fucking spend money. And I want to see less of that. Like, I just want to see motorcycle people.
Well, depending on the size of it, the club thing becomes a city ordinance.
Sure, and I get it, and I get the reasoning behind it, and I don't know though. It's just
the clubs need to amass. They need to write their congressman. And then,
I have some very good fucking friends that are in clubs,
because
I
that's
hate
literally
when I'm going to an event and they can't come.
That's literally what's like. Everybody thinks it's like a personal decision that's made by Born Free. Like, nope, no clubs. It's like
no,
it's part
I don't
of the
think
things.
that. I don't think that at all. And yeah, I know that it's definitely there's definitely deeper rooted things there.
When you do big events, like you typically have to get like permits, and you have to get like security.
Yeah,
and that security, when you have say motorcycle events, that security may or may not take on the job, or they might charge you triple the money, which then we just talked about money.
Sure, yeah.
Nobody wants to pay for anything.
Right.
So how do you combat that? There's just so many other factors that goes into the backside of things. If you will.
Oh yeah.
We don't care about club colors at our camp out, but we've never really had a huge club presence. But I've always just clubs don't like to hear this, but this is just the way it is. Like, look, at the camp out, it's about bikers and event and riders. That's what it is. Like, we're not playing we're not playing that game over there.
Sure.
You know, respect is respect.
Sure.
You know what I mean? If you want to come out and party, let's go. But don't start no shit. And if you have a guy here, and we had some banditos a couple years ago. It's like, look, if you have any issues, and I know those guys. Same thing at bike night when they come to our bike night. If you have any issues with anybody, let me know.
Sure.
Don't take it in your own hands, because you have eyes on you. It's going to make it worse for you. Let me go neutralize the situation.
Yeah.
And handle it.
Yeah.
If we have a dude getting out of line, getting mouthy, I'll handle that.
Sure. Absolutely.
And that's my job as the guy putting on said thing. But I don't need, dudes acting fucking, support clubs coming out here and acting all hard as shit, trying to, posture up on people that are just literally trying to have a good time,
Yeah, and there's definitely some of that happens in that world. I have some good friends that I've been friends with since I was a fucking kid that are club guys, but they're older. Like, they don't play those stupid games of like, I don't know. I see myself like, hey, y'all gonna go? I'm like, oh wait, y'all can't go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That sucks. They're fucking motorcycle people too. And
yeah.
And, I don't know. To me, I think that it would benefit events. Like, that was part of what made Giddy Up fucking so badass, because there was none of that. It was everybody was welcome. And naturally, when you get that many people together, there might be some problem somewhere, whether there's clubs there or not.
Yeah.
Shit could happen anywhere, but that fucking event was badass. And then the very last one, when there wasn't any club colors, I think that it had a different vibe.
Yeah, that can make. Yeah, I can.
It
see
had
that.
a different vibe.
Well, there was all the drama was already kind of on the table already,
sure,
so
right.
there was like some weird shit going on,
right.
in general. But yeah, I don't have a problem with the club stuff. Like I said, because like I said, working with the clubs here in Dallas, they understand what our bike night is, and we've never had issues. They come to bike night here and there,
absolutely.
But then again, I've seen like when Houston Dyna Crew was doing their bike nights, they turned into Houston Block Party.
Yeah.
Their whole shit got shut down because of club stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how they were handling it and how they were dealing with it, but like I said, it's,
I went to a couple of those, and I knew that it was a matter of time for that shit got shut down. It was pretty it was lawless.
Yeah.
You do enough lawless shit, it's going to get shut down at some point.
Yeah, but it was like the club shut it down.
Yeah.
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 There was some kind of like drama with, I don't even know what the whole parameters were, but it was some kind of like drama with something that was, you two sides to a story, you know,
Sure,
but at the same
sure.
time, it's like, you know, I what we've always wanted to do is just create an opportunity for people to find something about motorcycles to fall in love with, other than just, we always fall in love with bikes, but that love, if it's not like, if you don't pour something else in on top of it, it just kind of fizzles away. Like if you have to ride by yourself forever, or if you're, you know, you're part of that whole first wave of bike riding where you're, you know, riding the local bars and things, and that's the only thing you're doing is just like bar hopping on them every weekend. Like that's fun for a while, and that's, you know, whatnot, but it does kind of get old, and that's where a lot of people, if they don't find that next step to kind of fill that cup up with more substance, then they end up going to some other kind of, you know, hobby, fishing, hunting, something like that, right? I like to put on events,
and then
or try
I go
to
buy their bike.
Exactly. It's a circle of life.
Yeah.
But I like to put on events that take people out of their comfort zone enough to where they try something that's not practical for what they're known to do in motorcycling, to find a deeper connection to it. And that's like the camp out is that. It's about, you know, it's easy for us in Texas, but all those people that travel across the country, sometimes leaving in snow to get to it, those dudes come there and they're the most stoked, and we're stoked to see them. And we know we're following them on social media. We saw what they did.
It's fun to watch.
They're coming in down the roads, and people are, they're fucking here. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the vibe. I mean, you don't get that when you go to the bars.
No,
there's that drunk again. You know,
not at all.
So
dude,
it's about creating stuff.
You
like
know,
that.
everyone knows I don't drink, and the camp outs. Craig's camp out. I've been to the up north camp out. They're parties.
Yeah,
they're big fucking parties.
Bike parties, field parties is what.
Sure. But dude, whether you drink or not, I still have fun there, man.
Yeah.
I have fun watching the fucking people that put in the work to make it there. Every bit of it, I enjoy all of it, and you don't have to drink to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You have to see what's, I don't know, man.
Dude,
the fucking people.
We did that when I did that first vlog. You came out to the campsite that night, and we were getting fucked up.
Yes.
We were all hanging out around the campfire, and
yes.
Yeah.
I remember that.
You've always
that was
came out
fun.
Yeah.
Dude, I have fun. I have weirdly enough, I have more fun now that I'm sober than I did when I was partying.
Yeah.
I partied real heavy for a lot. Like you, most of these guys up here, y'all weren't around me when I partied. I've been sober 16 years.
Yeah.
And I was a fucking loose cannon. But I have way more fun now that I'm sober somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, we don't really have anybody in our group that's like, I really wish that guy would stop drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't really have that, but I know that personally, I know that we all go through our phases where we're like, we just want to chill for a little bit.
Sure.
I do it off and on, you know, and I couldn't promise you that I would drink for the rest of my life. I mean, I've thought about, you know, not going sober, but like just taking some time off of it, like extended periods of time and whatnot. And I could do like more of the social drinking. I can kind of curb that, but man, there's certain places that like, I just got to have a drink. Like I travel across the country on my bike and I get there.
Absolutely.
I'm like, fuck, dude.
Those are the times that I miss drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That and I miss drinking. I miss drinking with like a meal. Sometimes I want to have a beer with a meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I miss that. But it don't. I'll never go back to that.
I think you're a great example of like someone that's sober, that's been a part of everything going on in the last 8 years that I've been around this part of the bike scene, and you've just always just been like you're not necessarily the first person to go to bed all the time. Like you'll be up there having conversations around people at the fire all night.
Staying up late.
So it's like it's a good. I think for anybody considering like taking steps to be sober, you're a good ambassador for that because you know how to stay involved. Yeah. And I'm sure like there's probably tough times here and there for you that you personally dealt with, but it's like for us on the outside looking in from our very ignorant shoes, like we see you as like just stone cold, like I got this, and you're still involved in everything that we.
There was some years when I first got sober that I tried to get away from motorcycles for a minute. Mm-hmm. Because I grew up around motorcycles. There's never been a portion of my life where there was not motorcycles involved. Mm-hmm. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and my mom was heavy into chopper culture. My mom still has a motorcycle today. I'm about to sell it because they're both at the age where they don't ride no more. But I've never not been around motorcycles. And when I first got sober, like, I had to teach myself, like, how the fuck do I do certain things? Because everything I did, somehow or another, was I go camping and drinking. I go tube. I still today, 16 years later, still have not tubed down the river. Because tubing went hand in hand with drinking.
Yeah.
And I had 5 or 6 bikes in my garage when I got sober, and I sold them all because I was like, I'm gonna step away from that and see, like, is that one of my common denominators that continuously gets me fucking put in jail and gets me in trouble? And it was like 2 months, and I was like, no, I gotta have a motorcycle back in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I can't not have it. You know, I just had to learn how to do it and be sober. So there was a transition there where I didn't go to any bike events. You know, I was 14 years old going to fucking Sturgis with my mom and dad, and going to what the fuck was the name of that event we used to do in Texas? All kinds of events as a kid.
Yeah.
And when I got sober, though, I didn't do any of that shit for a hot minute. And
see, I grew up. I didn't go to Sturgis, but my stepdad was heavy into bike stuff in the 80s and early 90s, and so I was around a lot of shit too. But in the 90s, it was kind of dark. Like, a lot of the bike world club that he was in, that stuff was very.
I could see what you're saying there.
It was very like, oh fuck, I don't want to be a part of any of that.
Yeah.
And so I was scared to drink like that. I always tell people I didn't drink at all till I was 29. And I didn't do anything drug wise till later on as well. And it's like, now I'm a junkie. I'm just like, no, it's but it's like when I was
look like one.
When I was growing up, like, that's all I saw was like people that would come around that had shit and slowly lost shit.
Oh yeah.
And even whenever I went to live with my dad, he sold coke.
Yeah.
And so basically the same thing I saw again in another, you know, my mom's side was like the dirty biker world, and my dad's side was like the, you know, uptown Dallas world. And I saw the people that were coming in with some 94 Corvettes, and then 2 years later they're fucking, you know, bumming on the couch because they lost everything, you know. And that imprinted pretty heavy in me. So I was always scared to kind of go down that path. But
I went down that path heavy. I got arrested my first time at 14 years old.
Yeah.
With a fucking half ounce of weed. That's a lot of weed for a 14-year-old to be walking around the neighborhood with.
Yeah.
But then it just kept going from there. Because that to me, I grew up with that. That felt normal.
Yeah.
Partying, working Monday through Friday and partying all weekend was normal.
That's what most people's lives are, though. You know, nowadays.
Sure.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I'm talking about heavy partying,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Like, I was doing cocaine and methamphetamines at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned 21 in fucking jail. I turned 30 in prison. I was in it deep. And I don't know, man. That is what I thought was fucking normal.
Yeah.
And then I just got tired of that. I got tired of the results that was getting me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
the results is a big thing. That's part of like what I was talking about earlier about being self-aware.
Yeah.
Is like realizing that a lot of the results out of relationships and friendships and things that happen in your life keep going down this path. So you got to be self-aware and figure out.
You got to be willing to change some things if you want to get different results. And so many people don't.
Yeah.
And I didn't for a long time. You know, it wasn't until I went to prison. I only went to prison for a year. Like, I didn't do no big prison sentence. Like, I went for 1 year, but 1 year was enough.
Yeah.
For me to say that there's fucking more to life than this. And I told myself, I'm gonna try this for a year. I'm just gonna see, like, is anything gonna change? I'm gonna quit partying, I'm gonna quit drinking, I'm gonna quit fucking doing drugs. I'm gonna quit running around with the shit I was running around with. And in 1 year, man, my life changed so much. Mm-hmm. And for the better.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. And it's still today, it's still like, shit still gets put in front of me. I'm like, wow, I would have never guessed that I would have made it this. For a long time, I didn't think I would have seen fucking 30 years old. And I did. But now I'm like, I want to fucking see how far I can live.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, now I want to do it. And I did. I had to relearn how to do a lot of shit. I had to relearn how to motorcycle.
Yeah.
I had to relearn how to go to restaurants. I had to relearn it because every single part of it was drinking, and that went together.
Yeah.
Camping, like, it was so fun for me to see, like, your camp out, other camp outs starting to happen in the motorcycle world, because that's what I grew up doing.
Yeah.
And it was so fun for me to, like, get back into that and start doing that again. And getting to do, like, I got to do a bunch of travel on motorcycles when I was young, but not my travel. Mm-hmm. It was my dad's travel or my mom's travel. I was just along for the ride.
Yeah.
So now I get to do it on my own, you know, naturally, as any adult can. But I make the time to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's, I don't know, man. Doors have opened up. So many fucking doors have opened up in my life since I made those changes.
Yeah, I feel like if people are, you know, when you get the notion, like, man, I think I might need to go do this, like, it's probably your, you know, self-awareness telling you to kind of, you know, solve some shit in your life before it gets out of hand, right? So listen to yourself is what I'd always think. And, of course, that's I need to take my own advice, because every once in a while, I think what happened with this podcast is, like, for me, I wouldn't realize sometimes, like, oh shit, there's, you know, 500 people. As soon as this drops, there's, you know, 20,000 people going to listen to this, right?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're like, you know, you come home, you know, the next morning you wake up, you're like, what did I fucking say last night? I went off on something, and I realized, like, you know,
I've heard y'all get on some tangents on here.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, like, I don't like that part of me. I don't like being like that. I don't like being that fucking, you know, confident about an opinion, because it's an opinion.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I really believe that or not, you know, sometimes. But
I don't think anything's ever been said that I've ever, but, you know, everyone looks at things differently, but
true,
I
yeah.
look at things.
Well, you know me more, like, you personally know me, so you know, like, my mannerisms more as, like, for who I really am, versus if it was the first time watching this podcast and they see me drunk like that, then it's probably not, like, the best first impression for people to want to come check out this podcast. Oh, I heard this guy has a lot of really great, interesting, and you know, inspiring things going on. And then it's like, you know what's fucking dumb? You know? And so just trying to catch that. And honestly, like, when we do drink on the podcast now, we usually try to cut them off a lot earlier than we have in the past. Yeah. And that way, it just, after about 2.5 hours, you're not really saying anything of intelligence anyway. But... And don't get me wrong, like, those are fucking fun.
Dude, I laugh.
They're fun.
I laugh at them.
And there's gyms in there. You get Jaden in here drunk.
Oh, yeah.
There's something good coming out of that. You just got to stay along for that ride.
I've had some that have made me fucking cry. I've had some that have made me fucking laugh.
Dude, Jaden telling his boner story while riding one day on here. How he thought he could maybe hump the wind and come on himself or something. That was the funniest. I screen recorded that and was gonna put it out once because it was I was dying laughing.
Yeah,
and
he's fucking funny.
But yeah, but I think that I'm not trying to stop those. I just think that those probably should live on Patreon. You know, that kind of more honest, not honest, but like they're just more like, you know, garage talk.
Sure.
Shit you saying like you're hanging out in the garage together, and I want the podcast out here to have a little bit more of a polish. You know, a little bit more like presentable for new audiences. Still good content, obviously. I want it to be the best content possible, but I want it to stay focused.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just tough, man. It's because the other shit's fun, man.
Yeah,
it is.
Dude,
you're on here for 6 fucking hours. You're like, oh shit, there's still 70 people watching this right now.
Yeah,
you're like,
no, I enjoy watching them. They fucking make me laugh.
You just feel like a dumbass the next day when you wake up hungover and you're like, let me go see what I said last night. And you watch like 5 minutes of it. You're like, oh my God. What? I took my shirt off? What? The fuck?
You got tattooed.
I got tattooed. That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
Glad I didn't get fingered last night. Probably would have let it happen. So it's that, but you know.
Yeah.